Hello everybody and welcome back to the main snooker action. This time it's the final showdown and it's the battle in between the two players that will know each other better than most of the players on the WST tour, because it is going to be the jackpot Jack Lisowski up against the world number one, the ace in the back, Judd. The players of course have had numerous meetings in between the two of them, but this one surely is going to be one of the most important ones in their respective careers. Of course, Jack Lisowski has made the ranking event final on the previous occasion of 6 times there, and 3 of those were against Judd respectively at the World Grand Prix and at the Gibraltar Open, of course. Have been losing out some of the home nations tournaments in the past as well, losing out on the Scottish Open tournament there to Mark Selby. He'll hope to put all of these struggles behind him and finally challenge for his maiden ranking event title win. And you'll have very much the best player up against him here, with the world number one finally, as he says, discovering his form that he's been so desperately trying to find for the majority of this season. It is going to be the world number one against the world number 29. But ultimately, all these numbers probably come out of play, and it's all going to be about the fact, well, who's going to turn up first and try and fight for this Alex Higgins trophy, which is going to be waiting for any one of the two. We're going to have Jack Lisowski to start with a break-off. And as I said, I think he's going to win the opening session with the scoreline of 5-3, but not necessarily saying that from the point of view of expectation, but from the meeting there, because, you know, we've seen Judd struggle at the early stages of the majority of his matches, very much up against every single one of his opponents so far in this tournament, but he managed to very much come alive there, up against the likes of John Higgins, Gary Wilson and Mark Allen yesterday in the later stages. You heard it here first. I'm not over keen on Jack. I think he tries to be like Judd in every way, but obviously not as good however. Look at that, it passed away in March and things happen for a reason. Well, yeah, of course it's a very big tragedy there. And Chom himself mentioned that the last 8 months have been very difficult there for him. But, you know, bring the snooker action into play. Now Chomp has got a nice little long shot to try and take on in towards the left corner. Seen those miss previously there for him, and this one is not going to be an exception. So just like it was against his other opposition players, he's going to get off to an awful start here and leave the same red available to Jack in towards the left corner. Wish I could watch this live. Well, yeah, in terms of watching this one live, you can watch it on the TNT Sports if you're watching this in the UK or in Ireland. And, you know, Eurosport is going to be there for you in the mainline Europe. For any other region, you can double check the WST play to see if he's going to be available for you. But Judd is not going to take this night little invitation from Trump, and he's going to miss the red in towards the left corner. Of course, it wasn't an easy one, but it's one of those chances that you have to try and take earlier in this match. The same red, of course, is going to be potted by Trump, as he's basically left over the corner pocket. TNT like £30 a month. I think, yeah, something like that, and it depends on the package here, but Chop is going to be off to a great start here, as you know, he's going to have himself lined up on a black here and a couple of reds in towards the left corner, heading that way very, very shortly, as he has a little look to see if the black is going to go in towards the right corner pocket and then have the ability to have that cue ball lined up for the reds in towards the left corner there. Has to be very precise in terms of his cue ball positioning though. So that hasn't been the case in his beginning to the match against Mark Allen, where he managed to get off to, well, a scrappy start there, still managed to overcome a 2-snooker deficit in the opening frame and get himself a nice little frame on the board, as he now cannons the cue ball in towards the main bunch of reds and gets himself lined up for the black in towards the right corner for the second time of asking. So it's been a promising start here for him, of course compromised by an early mistake, but gifted the chance back here. He's got himself lined up on probably the last of the available reds, until he'll have to try and spread the position a bit more there to his liking. So has himself lined up very much straight in terms of the line of the cue ball position towards the black spot, which is going to mean the fact that he's going to try and smash the cue ball in towards the main buck of reds and try and make sure he'll have a couple of those available on towards either left or right corner. So very much important shot now, and let's see if he's going to be able to make this position the one that counts, and doesn't look to be the case, because, you know, got their cannon in towards the reds pretty much with the way that, you know, you would have liked it to be. Still didn't have one landed on towards the left middle, which would have made the main target area for him. Therefore, just having a little look to see where to play safety from. So it's going to be 24 points scored on the opening break here. Was once again there. That red could have gone towards the left corner. In the end, it has finished just too close towards the left-hand cushion for him to actually take this red on. But he's certainly going to be taken as a little cross double attempt. And I mean, it was very close there, Chomp. But ultimately, was he too close at that time? So he's going to have the cue ball run towards the lower part of red. So clearly trying to play for the black. And using the entire table length to try and do it. Decent effort there in the end, especially getting the main pack of reds in between the red that he so nearly missed in towards the right middle. And ultimately it's going to be a matter of question if Jack can actually see one of those reds in towards the right middle, apart from the one that Trump has missed out on. And the answer is shortly no there, because he's going to have the cue ball sent in towards the black ball cushion and line himself up for another safety battle, which probably something that you wouldn't expect to see, especially with the likes of Mark Holland and Judd eliminated yesterday. I think this probably has been a little indication that, you know, the final is going to be played very much in an attacking fashion, especially from Lisowski's point of view. That was the way, of course, he managed to overcome the likes of Karen Wilson, Mark Selby and Judd to lead himself into his 7th attempt there of claiming a ranking event title. Of course, 2 of those occasions were against Neil Robertson. Both have been against Jack there. One was against Mark Selby at the Home Nation Series at the Scottish Open. And of course, the last 3 of them, and making this one the 4th in a row, were against Judd Chomp, from World Open to sort of Gibraltar Open there. As Chomp, in the end, was trying to see if he's going to be able to get that cue ball in towards the top part of the table. In the end, probably thought against that. And try and just screw deep into the cue ball and try and send it in towards the black ball cushion once again there. Jack's having a look to see if he's going to be able to do the similar sort of thing here with the way the reds have gone onto the top part of the table. Eurosport at home, they only broadcasting some cycling event. We only have the second part of the final tonight. Bit weird that, but I'll have to trust you on that one. And Lisowski, I mean, he's gone for the aggressive approach once again, sending the cue ball in towards the green pocket. I mean, as I said, I thought it was going to be very much a nuclear zone for him, just because of the way the reds have been spread out in that part of the table. But in the end, as he was looking to find that gap, which was going to have Chomp still requiring to hit a safety shot rather than attempt for a long pot, does seem to be quite a successful shot there from Jack. But in any way, it's going to leave a chance away to Chomp. It's a chance that he missed well wide there, and the same red is going to be available there for Jack. So, you know, patience actually being on Lisowski's point of view. It was not something that I had on my bingo card going into this match, to be fair. Chomp will be disappointed with himself. You know, he had that position up in his grasp, and, you know, he missed that one by about the length of the entire Belfast, getting absolutely nowhere near the left corner, and therefore the same red is going to be playable here for Jack in towards the left middle. A nice little start there from the man from Gloucestershire. Gets himself in points on the board now, lined up for the blue to get it the cue ball down the table. Of course, we've spoken about Jack Lisowski, and the thing you have to talk about is going to be the world number 1. That he's looking for his first ranking events win in over 11 months now. You know, the last one coming at the UK Championship. So the Triple Crown was very much at his disposal last year, winning Saudi Arabia's Snooker Masters in the same time as well. But these 2 were the only trophies that Trump has actually managed to win. And that was last season, of course. He still was yet to make a semi-final appearance up until this tournament. Managed to take it a step forward and have himself lined up for another clash here with Jack Lisowski. Was looking to end that almost a year drought of being trophyless here and get himself the ranking event title number 31. As Jack is trying to go for the top part of the table here. Yeah, so everyone in chat, I would actually appreciate, and don't want to block people there, but make sure that you're going to speak in English so that we can understand the language and actually relate to it. As Jack here once again tries to eliminate the top reds here, which is actually trying to do the hard job first, as he finds himself 12 points behind. And having a little look to see if the brown is going to be possible here, and give him a nice little angle to get the cue ball down the table. There's a little look at the angle once again there. So he has got 3 of those ball colours available there to his name, but I think it's going to be heavily dependent on if he wants to take the last remaining red out of the game, which is currently, sitting on the top part of the table. The last of the 3 of the ones that were available there, and I think it certainly was a miscue there, I should say, because, didn't hear the sound, of course. But, I mean, he was looking to take that yellow on there in towards the green pocket, and he missed that one by an absolute mile. So, yeah, you can see that on the replay. Clearly miscued, and, well, unfortunately for him, of course, he's going to give a chance away of Trump actually having this red in towards the left middle. And even though it wasn't necessarily his fault, he's still going to be punished for it. As Trump takes the red in towards the left middle, and Jack, once again there, taking all that time to actually find himself a perfect colour to play. He's going to run himself completely out of position, and have Trump to try and do something with those reds on the lower part of the table. But the first shot, or the second shot I should say, probably turns into a little bit of a disaster there for him, as he goes 17 points clear, catches the jaw of the middle, therefore completely runs himself out of position here for the left corner. His only real hope is going to be trying to get the red with the rest there in towards the right corner, ultimately compromising himself massively for the next shot on the colour. Has to focus on the pot mainly. I mean, he's got that one in, but the cue ball is going to be very much a traitor there from Trump. And yeah, he's going to finish exactly on towards the left-hand cushion of the table. So very awkward for him to try and take, especially if he wants to go for the blue here. I mean, the angle is going to be perfect for the blue to be taken in towards the left middle, in towards the positional play, but he's going to make the shot very, very difficult there for him and make the blue missable for Trump. And yeah, you don't really see him miss those shots too often there, but he's going to miss this one. The cut was there, but he didn't manage to take this one in towards the left middle. And back to Jack it goes. Very much unfortunate to end the break with the way he actually did for him. But gets another chance here, and another life in this frame. So now we are going to get into very much the interesting part of the frame, as well, we're going to run out of easy reds for any one of the players to play. Therefore, they have to try and start making their way through it. That some of the ones that probably would be classified as challenging here. The first one required a perfect positional play here from Jack, as he manages to try and line this one up in towards the right middle and takes it nicely. So has himself lined up on the pink to be returned back to his spot there, which will free up a couple of more reds there for Jack in towards the right middle. Now 3 points behind. And just having a little look to see if he can take this one in towards the right middle. And then hopefully for himself, of course, have himself lined up on towards the pink there into either left or right corner. So it takes an extra time here, which of course we haven't seen him actually do there in the semi-final stage. So as we have a look to see, I mean, if he can try and set the cue ball in towards the 2 reds that are going to be just underneath the pink right now, spread those out, and of course he's going to be compromised by the fact that he can't actually guarantee himself a potting towards any of them, and that's exactly what happened. And he managed to have slightly sort of contacts with those, and in the end doesn't look like it's actually going to be enough there for him to have a straightforward shot into either yellow or left middle pocket. Which one is he going to take? I think he's lining up for a shot in towards the yellow pocket, and he's going to miss this one. Is he going to leave the same red away there? No, on this occasion. But ultimately, I think he's going to leave one of those reds that he managed to cannon the cue ball in towards on the previous occasion. Those 2 reds are going to be, of course, available for Judd. And the slight concern, of course, for the world number one is going to be the fact that he still is going to need all 4 of those reds as he manages to take the first one really nicely in towards the right corner. Have the pink positioned in towards the opposite side of the table. And just play the cue ball with a little bit of a stun shot there and get it on towards the right corner once again here for the red. Get himself 3 points clear this time around. So can go as many as sort of 20 points clear until he reaches that difficult red, which is going to be aimed towards the left corner if he doesn't decide to actually try and have the cue ball sent into it. Which, I mean, he has got the angle on the black here to try and do that right here, right now. It's going to all come down to the execution part. And the execution ain't going to be perfect here, but he's managed to cannon it towards the open play. The problem, of course, is going to be the fact that he has to take it right here, right now. Because of the 2 reds that he's got in open play. It's the only one that he's actually got a semi-decent position on. But has to make it stick this time because there's going to be no second chances should he miss it. With Jack being very keen to try and pounce on those mistakes. And just as I say, if that red pulls up there and Jack is going to be able to get through it, he's going to have a straightforward clearance now, or somewhat straightforward clearance to have himself this frame won. After Trump, you know, don't think he's actually did enough there to have himself a straightforward shot with the rest. In the end, the same red is going to be possible with it very easily there for Jack into the left corner. You can see just catching way too much of the front jaw with that shot on the rest. And with Jack being 11 points behind at that time, he's going to find himself only a handful of points behind right now. And just have himself lined up on this red with a little bit of the angle. When I say a little bit, not so much here. Because he's just going to send the cue ball towards the lower part of the table once again. And have himself compromised slightly on the potting angle. And when I say slightly, he's actually going to miss the red. So, a couple of those chances not taken. Probably something that you could expect to see from both players. Coming up very much a bit raw into this final. Especially in the opening frame. And back to the safety battle we come here. A bit fortunate there from Jack not only not to leave the red. But also have Trump snookered on this red here. So, nice little 2-cushion escape is probably needed. Trying to send the cue ball in towards the right-hand side of the table first. Have that one position very close towards the bulk. Cushion is certainly going to help him. Try and force that red towards the lower part of the table at that time. As he has a little look to see if that's going to be an opportunity taken. Plays it with a little bit of left-hand spin to make sure that the cue ball is going to be stunned and remain exactly what the red was previously. Nice shot there. Played pretty much to the perfect extent there from Chomp, because he managed to separate the cue ball and the red and to put just as much distance between the 2 of those as it was actually possible there for him. So Judd is not going to struggle too much here with the safety shot, but just has to make sure that he's going to be good enough for him to make to actually realise the fact that he's not going to put himself under pressure from Chomp. I mean, he was trying to bring the pink into play in between the cue ball and the red. In the end, I don't think he's actually managed to do that. And there's going to be an edge of the red available here for Chomp to play. But, I mean, unless he gets the cue ball very much in behind the pink himself, he hasn't played the shot too well here. Leaves a double on here, which we've seen Jack actually attempt there on a couple of those occasions. Of course, he was a bit from brilliant there to a bit reckless, especially in the last frame against Watchalong. And he's going to take this one. He's going to miss it though, so it was probably boundary on being a bit reckless there. And the same red, of course, if it doesn't finish up in behind the green, which doesn't look to be the case now, is going to be available for Chomp to play. So, once again, Jack just refusing the safety side of things. And leaving a chance away to Chomp to try and take this red in towards the green pocket. And has a little look towards the scoreboard, probably to see if he's going to need the blue here. So clearly thinking ahead in terms of the way that he's going to try and finish this frame off here. Should he be able to get this red in towards the green pocket. And get himself a very high chance of winning the opening frame, which already feels like it could be a massive for any one of the players to win. especially as I probably keep repeating myself, it is going to be for Jack here, because Trump has managed to produce those comebacks previously, but he's not going to manage to get this red in. So he's going to miss that one and have it sent towards the right-hand cushion of the table. And I mean, Jack went for a bit of aggressive approach, trying to send the cue ball almost towards the green pocket intentionally, and just hoping that it was going to stick in the jaws. I mean, it was a risky shot for takeoff, but it looks like it has actually paid off there for him. Having a lot of the distance in between the cue ball and the red to take in towards the right corner, as Trump doesn't seem to be overly impressed with something going on. And just has a little word with the referee here. So let's have a little listen what the actual conversation is going to be about. Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's too much going on, and Trump just seems to take his time here. Yeah, so something's clearly going on in the background there, just a little bit of a noise from the stand. Coming from the north, so a little bit of the delay in the game. Both players just waiting for all the noise to settle down. And then we're going to be back in towards the main action. So the referee's having a quick look at this to see, that he's going to be the first one to know when the noise is going to come down. And Trump will come back to the table himself. Of course, has got a very important shot now to try and play. If he's going to have this cue ball lined up in towards the left corner. I mean, he has a look at this one, but I don't think he's going to be too impressed here with the way the noise of the crowd is actually trying to distract him. Okay, so the delay apparently is going to be a long time here. So the referee is saying that you could potentially have the players leave the arena. Okay, so this apparently someone has been very much ill in the crowd, so we just hope to get someone to help them out, and then the play is going to be restored here. So, of course, nothing that you want to see in any sort of snooker match, and we all hope that spectators are going to be okay himself. And of course, from that point of view, of course, that's going to mean that the delay is not going to be too severe, with substantial news to the spectator itself still being yet to know. But of course, there's going to be delay midway through the frame. So if you talk about the snooker point of view, it's going to be a bit more pressure on Judd now put out. So, he'll be looking to have himself lined up for a shot in towards the right corner and trying to send a cue ball back up the table. But of course, all that is going to be delayed by sort of unknown amount of time as we still wait for the outcome of the delay in play. Still doesn't seem to be too much of an update here going on. So therefore, we just have to wait for the play to resume, and hopefully all the medical care that is going to be required to get to that spectator will be delivered within a short amount of time. And as soon as the play is going to be resumed, of course the action will continue here. Still doesn't seem to have any of those updates from either referee, of course the players, or the official coverage here. So wait we must to see this result here, hopefully as soon as possible, and also with the best possible outcome for the spectator himself or herself. Still, the fans are actually moving on the table, so clearly the delay is going to be expected to last a significant amount of time. Yeah, once again, no massive update can be provided. I'll have the official WST app and website open to see if we're going to have the update, but still says to be continued, and a little bit of an interruption there. So I think we might as well actually go for a little intermission ourselves, and when the play is resumed, or we've got any sort of news to deliver to you, we'll be back to the main action, and have all those news given to you as soon as we actually know them. So stick around, and hopefully this won't take too long for us to resume the play in the normal standard. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, we're now back. So hopefully all the medical care that was needed there for the spectator within the arena was provided to them. And now we're going to have the play restored back to normal. And let's now see what we're going to bring to ourselves with this snooker frame number 1 still being very much anyone up for grabs here. Chuck is going to have the safety play started off as he sends the cue ball down the table once again here. Has the cue ball lined up for the shot in towards the green pocket here for Trump. And he takes that one really nicely here. So no hesitation at all and gives the play back to Jack straight away here. Just having a little look to see if he's going to have this red sent in towards the left-hand side of the table. And he was trying to bring the pink into play here and try and have it once again in between the cue ball and the red. I think he's actually managed to have a really nice shot there. It's not going to snooker or really put Trump under too much pressure because, you know, the jaw of the pocket is going to be within the cushion. So therefore, it's not going to be a challenge there for him to actually get the red. But it's all going to be about trying to actually get that ball safe there and have the cue ball and red spread out and white's play stopped. It shouldn't be any more. White was play stopped, and in the past, of course, it was stopped because of one of the spectators wasn't feeling well. So, you know, it was Rob Spencer's idea, the referee of the match, to actually offer the players the chance to go outside of the arena. And I mean, Trump manages to get this red in, but he's going to have himself under a little bit of scrutiny here. And well, as he has a look at this red, I mean, can he take this on in towards the left corner? I mean, he probably has to, but it's not going to be an easy one for him to try and take. As he has a little look to see that's going to be available there for him, and he does seem to go for it, and he will pot it this time around. So no mistake on this occasion here from Jack, as he looks to get that very nervy frame on his board on the score sheet, and absolutely hammers the brown in towards the yellow pocket, but ultimately it's only going to get him 2 points clear here of Judd Trump, and have himself lined up for the shot of the yellow in towards the right corner. So has a little look to see if that's going to be available, and probably has to think against it though, so has to think about a safety shot instead. So has a little look to see, and I mean, he was trying to get the cue ball in behind the black sort of pink combination, and probably the right decision there for him, but he's not going to trouble Trump with those shot selections, and has a nice little response there from the world number 1, trying to get the yellow in towards the green here and have just as much distance put in between the cue ball and the yellow itself. Nicely played as Jack tries to have those two separated by the other edges of the table. So once again here, it's back to Trump here. So very little time taken on between those shots with either one of the players. So just waiting for that first mistake to occur. And this might be the time to make it if you're Judd Trump here, because he didn't mean to actually try and catch the yellow on towards the green. But ultimately, that is going to be the case for him. And he's going to have the yellow lined up in towards its own pocket. For Jack Lisowski, he's been making those shots very much there throughout the majority of this tournament, and he's going to make it once again here as he gets himself on for what I would say is not going to be a too straightforward of a ending to the frame. At least he gets himself in with another chance, rolls the green in towards the left middle, and he's now going to go 7 points clear of Judd Trump. Of course, needs the brown and ultimately the blue, which is going to be the main difficulty here for him. Because as he gets himself with a little bit of the angle on the brown, doesn't still look like it's going to be enough there for him to actually get either in behind the blue or try and cannon it in towards the open play. And therefore, he had to try and force the angle on the cue ball and compromise himself massively on the potting angle and actually missed out the brown all itself there in towards the left corner. And, well, has a little look to see if... I mean, I don't think Jack can be upset about the way the brown has actually landed there, very close in towards the right-hand cushion of the table. And Chomp is just going to try and split the cue ball and the brown onto the opposite sides of the table and play the shot really nicely there. Once again, no hesitation, just getting down and hitting that shot as soon as he could there. Get the cue ball down the table once again here and try and get it in behind the black here from Jack's point of view. So still, even though it is a safety battle currently, you can still see both players trying to make sure that they're not going to delay the game too much, because it's going to go against both of the players' interests. They're just trying to play the game on the front foot the majority of the times, but also trying to have that momentum kept within themselves, as they still look for the first major break since the interruption. Jack is going to go back to his chair here, so Chomp is having a look to see if he's going to be better off going to send the cue ball into a cushion first here, try and have the white lined up in behind the black here. But that plan is going to come very much against himself here, because he's going to have this brown lined up for Jack very much nicely in towards either yellow pocket or the left middle if Jack actually manages to take this one. And he's going to be very close to making the brown in towards the left middle, but ultimately he's still going to miss out on that chance. You know, the position on the blue was there for him, but he didn't get the first part of the task done there for himself. So once again, the brown is going to ricochet towards the left-hand cushion of the table. So after a couple of those mistakes, Chomp is still yet to receive a massive invitation point from Lisowski onto actually potting the brown here. Because Chomp is not necessarily going to be compromised massively by the fact that he's 7 points down, with apart from you getting on the blue, should be a straightforward ending here to the frame. Whether it's going to be Jack or Judd here, trying to perform that ending for themselves. And, well, Lisowski here clearly acknowledging the shot by Chomp is actually put him under all sorts of scrutiny. As I look back at the scoreboard, but that's not going to help him massively, because as long as Chomp gets himself on the blue and actually manages to pot that colour, the straightforward ending with the pink and black is going to be there for him for the taking as well. So, one of the longest shots that we've seen in the safety battle here from Lisowski. Still doesn't seem to make his mind up on the way that he has to approach this shot. Maybe try and send those in towards each other here. Try and get the cue ball stopped in towards the brown, the way it's actually located right now. And get the colour itself onto the lower part of the table. But as the shot clock goes over a minute here, I mean, he's trying to have those separated. And in the end, he's going to leave a decent invitation enough there for Chomp to consider taking that brownie towards the right middle. But ultimately, once again there, as he has a little look to see where the trajectory of the cue ball has to be to have him lined up on the blue. I mean, it's probably going to be one too many cushions there for him to take on. And probably taking the right shot approach, just getting those two separated with just as much table time and table distance as it was possible. So remember, 7 points of the gap in favour of Jack here, but 22 points still up for grabs here for either one of the two players here. And lovely little shot here from Lisowski this time around. Manages to recover and make up for an early mistake on the previous shot as he gets the pink in between the cue ball and the brown. But to be fair to Chomp, he manages to recover pretty well himself and, you know, get in behind the brown here, which, depending on the angle, might actually leave a chance on for Jack to take this brown in towards the yellow pocket. Have the cue ball lined up in towards and quite close to the blue. And clearly it was a shot they was considering for a couple of seconds there, but ultimately he's going to try and get the cue ball in towards the pink here, but he's going to be shot on pace. And in the end, he was trying to do more damage by having the brown available in the open play, which of course makes the shot a lot harder for Chomp actually to make, but that was only valid until the cue ball was always going to reach the pink here. It didn't, and now this brown is going to be taken very nicely by Chomp, but is he going to have himself lined up for a shot at the blue? It doesn't seem like the answer is going to be yes here, because even though he has managed to get himself the brown in, I should say, he's now still 3 points down. Ultimately, he will need both blue and the pink here. But, I mean, Even if he still only needed a blue here, it would be a very difficult shot for him to take on and actually make it towards the middle. Simply compromised by the fact that he actually can't see it, of course. He's running himself into a little bit of a snooker situation here. Has to try and hit the left-hand cushion first, but ultimately has to do it in the way that he's going to get the cue ball away from the blue and away from the danger. And shot very nicely played there for him. You know, it was always going to be about trying to make sure he's not going to give a chance away. And ultimately, he has done as well as he could have. And Lisowski once again there being very much impatient and trying to go for the blue. And just relying on the fact that the blue was always going to go in towards the top part of the table. The frame time is going to reach half an hour here. And we may actually get ever so closer to the outcome of the frame. The blue is going to be taken surely in towards the yellow pocket here by Chomp. And if he rolls this one in, the angle on the cue ball is going to be waiting there for him to actually drop it in behind the pink. And in the end, he's going to miss the blue by a very slim margin. So could have rolled the red in, could have rolled the blue in. Instead, he has actually wobbled in the jaws and stayed out. The same blue is going to be possible here for Jack here. So all about just that concentration and making those shots that he has been making throughout the majority of the campaign. And he managed to take it once again here. A bit fortunate with the way he got the jaws on the way out of the shot. But ultimately, he's got himself a frame ball to take in towards the right corner. That he's going to get him one of those 9 frames that he needs to take it away from Judd. And that's going to be the case. So Jack Lisowski has got a perfect start there for himself. And he's going to finally clinch that opening frame and have himself lead by a frame to nil here. Very important for him to try and do the same sort of thing that Mark Allen, John Higgins and Gary Wilson has managed to do on the previous time of asking. Ultimately, all of them managed to fail to stop that winning machine of the ace in the pack. Let's see if Lisowski's going to be a bit of an exception out of those 3. And he's going to be able to take it one step further as he lines himself up for a 1-0 lead. It is now Judd 0, Jack Lisowski 1. Very much a lot of analysis that you could take on that opening frame. Ultimately, I think you have to say that Trump is a bit unfortunate with the way that Lisowski was taking those chances. He kept missing them, but ultimately didn't actually give away too many of those to Trump himself. But, of course, you have to be in those chances to try and actually take those. Get in there, Jack. Well, he's 11% there, and he has to make sure that he tries to keep this up and tries to bounce back ever so strong here. Try and use that momentum as a confidence builder and try and just get himself into a groove that actually got him in this place, performing some of his best snooker of a couple of years now, up against the likes of Selby, Wilson and Watchalong yesterday. But an absolute domination of a performance. And I also think it's going to be a massive factor here for him for the fact that, you know, Trump has finished his match pretty much at midnight here at Belfast. Jack was almost done with this match with around 4 o'clock there. So 8 hours he had of an advantage there to have used as a rest time there over Judd. And let's see if that's going to come into place there for him earlier on in this match. Because I think Trump is going to be always capable of actually coming back later in this encounter. So it's all about the now for Jack's point of view. It's going to be a nice little bonus for Trump if he manages to keep this as close as he can actually be there for him. You know, if you compare the matches of Lisowski, of his previous ranking events, he was always going on a sort of streak of losing there. So you had Selby, Robertson and Trump just dominate them for some part of the match, and ultimately he was just not able to bring that gap down enough so he could actually try and challenge any one of those 3. Let's see if he can produce some sort of domination of his own, as Trump is going to have himself lined up for a break-off shot here. So once again, just like it was very important for Jack to be off to a good start, something that he didn't actually manage to do on every single one of those occasions against Watchalong yesterday. He did manage to do it in the opening frame. And right now, we're going to have ourselves set up for a very interesting second frame. As, you know, the camera is going to be very much concentrating on the audience wearing an Alex Higgins short. And of course, the reference is to the fact that any one of the players that is actually going to win 9 frames is going to receive the Alex Higgins trophy, as Lisowski He's not going to be off to a good start here, though. It was a good safety shot by Trump. The break-off shot, I should say. And in the end, he's going to earn him 4 foul points. Lisowski was unable to get the edge of the red. Of course, going for the shot that is always going to be very difficult for him to actually take here. Because if he takes it just slightly too thick there, he's going to have the cue ball heading in towards the right corner of the pocket. Therefore, not necessarily sustainable from his point of view, because that's going to give a ball in hand as a guaranteed chance for his opponent. And going to have the same mistake here. So he can clearly hit a full ball here. So he's going to be given a warning here. And also, actually, well, I mean, he's going to have the free ball here, Trump. So it's all about if he wants to take this one and have the cue ball lined up for the green after taking the brown on. But I think logically he'll have this one put back and have Jack, well, have to do attempt number 3. As I say, still very much looking forward to see if the referee is actually going to give this warning to Jack himself. Let's have a little listen. I think he's going to have to do it because so the referee is still trying to re-establish the position of the cue ball. So all about trying to, and yep, so the referee has confirmed it, and he has given a warning to Jack Lisowski here, so clearly has to go for a different shot approach. And I mean, he's still going for this one. I mean, he has to take the red in, otherwise he's going to lose in the frame. Very close to the blue, of course, but in the end, it's going to be enough in terms of the trajectory for him actually to hit the red ball. But I don't think he's going to be too happy with himself here, because he still has given a nice little invitation away to Trump and try and take the same red in towards the left corner and get himself started for a very much, well, a prospering break here, I would say, that Trump has managed to mess up from the first shot. I mean, he was trying to send the cue ball in towards the reds pretty much from the get-go. And I think he should have been more cautious at that time, because he didn't have the pink available as his backup option. And therefore, just cannoning into the reds made him the fact that he doesn't have any of those colours lined up here for the cue ball. So just roll the green in towards the top part of the table and have the cue ball lined up in behind the yellow once again here. So back to the safety play we go. Of course, the position has changed dramatically since the last shot from Trump. You know, cannoning and absolute hammering the cue ball in towards the main back of reds. And it doesn't look like it's actually going to get him anywhere but a 9-point advantage, with still having 139 points available there for either one of the players. Straight away there, Jack taking some of this time to actually make his mind up on which shot he's going to try and take on. In the end, finding a beautiful line with the cue ball, and all about the way it's actually going to pull up there and finish. And I think he's managed to have a really nice shot here. Of course, Trump has struggled himself against safety play. Against Mark Cullen in the early stage once again, was able to recover that and go on a run off, winning 4 frames on the bounce. Of course, improving in all the aspects of the game, including the safety play. But this time the cue ball is going to be heading very much towards the green pocket. But ultimately, if it's not going to drop, it's going to be a chance given away. It was a bit reckless there from Judd. And it's going to give a chance away to Jack here in towards left middle. So if he takes this one, he's going to be presented with a chance himself, especially if he gets the cue ball onto towards the blue line, which he was unable to do there in the end. Of course, trying to focus on the pot a bit more to make sure he's not going to compromise himself and give all of those reds available to Trump. In the end, he's going to have to try and make something out of this play. He can take the blue in towards the green pocket, but that's not going to be a challenge. And he's going to catch the green on the way in. So a bit of a calamity shot there for him. And he's going to have all of those reds available here to Trump. So once again, can't really say I think it was the right shot for him to take on. And ultimately, he's going to be all the chances given away here to Judd Trump. The first one and the easiest is going to be the one in towards the left corner. The one that he's going to have him lined up for the black in towards either right corner or potentially the blue in towards the right middle. going to be entirely up to him on the decision that he actually makes on his shot selection. And although has to go very wide there with the cue and have a lot of distance there in between his position of his hand and actually the tip of his cue. Therefore manages to recover quite nicely there and get himself into a prime position to take this black in towards the right corner here. And we'll have a wide variety here of all the reds in the world that he can actually choose from, which is why it was such an important decision there to make from Jack Lisowski's point of view, and it's the one that you would expect him to make for him playing the style of a snooker that, you know, he's so used to, and actually got him in towards this meeting with Trump. But ultimately, sometimes you just have to take the foot off the pedal and say, you can't put all of these colours. Don't think that shot with the blue was a shot that was actually going to guarantee himself anything in terms of actually potting, of course. You know, you can actually tell and have a look at the way he's missed that pocket bite, because he caught the green with such power and such a margin of it. In the end, gave all of those reds away that he was playing for himself away to Judd, and the rest very much could be the end here of this opening frame. Ever since that, of course, frame number 1 was decided in his favour, you always had to try and make sure he's managed to build on that, not give away all the momentum and opportunity away to Judd, and so far it is exactly the way things have panned out for him. Take the black in towards the left corner, put yourself 40 points clear. It's going to be the minor task for Chomp. And as I said previously, he's not going to run out of reds anytime soon. Once again, has himself positioned on the red in towards the right corner. So take this one and play the cue ball in towards the main pack of reds here once again, giving them a really nice and gentle touch, which is going to be enough there for him, of course, to have just a couple of more of those released into the open play. And therefore, a couple of points that Jack Lisowski is never going to score in his life here. Now 48 points of a gap, 91 is still on the table, so just closing in on that frame ball zone, which is going to come thick and fast here at Chomp, with those points just evaporating off the table and just being stored at the score sheet of Chomp's count on this frame number 2. Once again, doesn't even have to do anything in terms of the position sort of adjustment, and just roll the cue ball in towards, well, the red into either left corner or left middle. He's got a wide selection of shots now to try and play. So a little bit of top spin, get himself with a little bit of the angle once again on the black to go back top the table and get himself 64 points clear with 75 on the table. So after this black, the next red and colour combination is going to make sure that that mistake is going to cost Jack Lisowski the frame here. And Chomp will be off to a great start now, and will be managed to recover that early loss of the frame away to Jack, and respond with the way the number 1 should actually respond to those challenges and get himself a nice little frame on the board. Should be GG's and will be if this black is going to be in, and that is the case. So it is going to be now 1 frame each, with Chomp going 72 points clear, still only 67 on the table. So all eyes are going to be on if Judd Chomp is going to make a century break from here. He's got the majority of those 4 reds actually available to his name, so shouldn't be too much of a struggle for him to actually achieve that goal. So once again, he still has to try and pursue that, you know, Gary Wilson and Sean Murphy camp of being first to reach 100 centuries in the season. Because Rousington, the current world champion, even though he hasn't been playing too well, is still going to be in the mix there, alongside the likes of Sean Murphy, Mark Cullen and Joey Long there, the players that have actually managed to make it surprisingly to the main tour, quite deep in towards those tournaments. And the broadcasting team just letting us know what has actually started the break from Judd Chomp. And there was a massive mistake of Lisowski in towards the green pocket. As Chomp just rolls the red in towards the right corner, which it means good game, and basically the frame is over at this time. Sometimes you could use that as a reference to sort of match being over as well, or the player having absolutely no chance to recover. But of course, on this occasion, it was just about talking about the frame. And I mean, it's a perfect situation now from Chomp in terms of him taking 11 reds and 11 blacks, but of course he's not quite for a maximum. 2 of those reds were used previously, one by Jack and one by Judd himself. So he could make it a perfect 13 reds, I should say, 13 blacks. Don't think you get a bonus for this one, but it's still going to be a nice little tester there from Judd's point of view as he gets himself 2 shots away here from making a century break. You know, has to roll the red, which is not going to be easy there, similar to the shot that Jack has missed previously in the opening frame, but he's going to roll this one in there. And although he's not going to have himself lined up for the black here, so needs one more colour now to keep himself for that century pursuit. Looks like it's going to be taken as the blue in towards the right middle. And he tried to take it with a double on, and he hasn't managed to make it. So it's going to be in the break of 97 points. So not quite a century break, but in the end, it's going to be more than good enough for Judd Chomp to get himself a frame on the board. So now, after an early challenge and very much a lengthy frame there, from both of the players' point of view, it is going to be an absolute demolition job from Judd Chomp as the world number 1 restores the parity here. And it is going to be Jack Lisowski 1, Judd Chomp 1 going into the 3rd frame. Still nothing to separate the 2 players in between those frames, of course. But, you know, the way Chomp has actually managed to win the 2nd frame is going to be very much a contrast to the win that was achieved by Lisowski himself in the 1st frame, where it was very much a 50-50 battle. He was trying to go through all these challenges with a safety play. And therefore, you know, it was a frame that was anyone's for the taking. The fact that Lisowski managed to take it was a bonus for himself, but you know, the way to actually go off these frames is going to be the fact that you try and have that as a confidence boost, and also you just take it into the next frame and try and build on that, build yourself a nice little cushion. Because if you're going to throw the chances like the one that he's had in the 2nd frame away, no matter how many scrappy frames you win, you're just not going to be able to win the title away from Judd Chomp. And it does very much seem like it's going to be the challenge here for him. So we still wait for the action to resume here on the one and only table, of course, as we're down to the one table format. You know, one of the unique tournaments here at the Northern Ireland Open, even though it is the Home Nation Series. He only has 3 tables being played at the same time at the early stage of the tournament. And when we get to the semi-final stage, of course, we got to have 2 of the other tables removed. And we're going to be down to a single table format, which is going to mean that the standing is going to expand. The amount of fans is going to expand as well. And therefore, the amount of noise is going to be there for the players. Of course, I think he's going to have a dedicated fan base, Judd Chomp being present here, as we haven't got a player from Northern Ireland in the final. For, you know, maybe first time in a while. Of course, Mark Allen has been there or thereabouts. And another player from Northern Ireland, Jordan Brown himself, has managed to take it in towards Welsh Open title in 2021. Of course, hasn't made it in towards the late stages of his own tournament. And the result of reaching the quarterfinal, that's been his best performance in the Home Nation Series, barring that brilliant campaign at the Welsh Open, defeating Ronnie O'Sullivan in the final frame. Now, going to frame number 3 here, and starting off with the worst possible manner here, you would think, for Jack Lisowski, because it was a bit of a disastrous break, and leaves the red away in towards the left middle, but ultimately I think he'll have the brown to his rescue. So not quite a danger there for Lisowski, but he has to be careful that he actually doesn't sort of transform and make it a little habit there for himself, because Chomp can still just about get through to this red and play it as a safety shot. And in the end, we're going to have Lisowski with a nice little straightforward safety to play himself. Yes, he has a little look to see if he's going to have this red available towards the left corner pocket here for Jack. As you know, he's got this one lined up there previously, but didn't manage to take it in frame number 1. And he's not going to have another attempt here. Pot success, of course, for him, 69% is going to be an absolute dreadful start if you talk about the professional players. And I don't think his safety percentage is going to improve by the shot he just played, because he's going to have a red given away in towards the right corner here for Judd, which surprisingly to me, he actually doesn't decide to go for. He's going to try and go for the one which is going to get the cue ball down the table. But to be fair, I mean, it certainly feels like the right decision now, because even though the cue ball, he's not going to have himself lined up for the colour. It's a brilliant pot there by Chomp, as he make this one stick right into the heart of the pocket, and just going to try and roll the cue ball in towards the yellow here, and have himself lined up for another safety battle. But of course, very much on the front foot this time around, because it is going to be a snooker escape needed from Jack Lisowski, or so I thought, until Chomp has actually played the shot. I think that, you know, that mistake from Higgins has compromised his sort of trying to roll the cue ball in towards the ball colour shot, because not for the first time you can see him not play that shot to the full extent. Therefore, Lisowski could see that red that he could try and play a safety shot from. In the end, still didn't manage to do as well as he could have done. And in the end, he's going to have the same red available here for Chomp, which, as I say, I think is going to be a massive waste if he doesn't take this one away in towards the right corner. But his long pot success hasn't been too great, although he just made two in a row here. Brilliant shot here once again, and this time he's going to have a chance here to continue the break with taking the yellow in towards the green pocket here. So, of course, he can try and go for the brown here, but I think it's just going to be the angle that is not going to suit him for the positional play. And in the end, it was more than good enough for him to try and actually take the yellow in towards the green pocket. Get himself lined up for the shot in towards the right corner. As right now, all the focus has to switch on the pink in towards the left middle. I mean, he's got this one available as the black in towards the left corner. But ultimately, it's all going to be about the fact that, you know, he's got this one lined up as a short selection there to his name. But I think it has to stay in and around the black spot here. Well, I mean, he's gone for a shot that I actually don't think was there for him. I mean, he's gone for a red, which... He's gone for the bunch of reds of the situation of the black there. We didn't have to do it. He's had some of those reds available, which especially at this early stage of the final, you just have to try and take it red by red basis. In the end, he didn't manage to do it. And it looks like, I mean, can he get through to this red? He's going to be very lucky if he actually can. And he can, so he gets away with it. I mean, it was a massive left off there for himself. Probably deserves it after a little bit of bad luck going against himself earlier in the first frame. And right now, just having a look to see if he's got that brown available in towards the right corner. And, well, the problem is, of course, the shot that he's played was mega risky there for him. But ultimately, it's not like he's going to give him a massive confidence boost or points boost available, because all of the reds that he can in towards is still not going to be available here to his name. So he's trying to see if he's got the red underneath the pink there available to his name, but still doesn't seem to be the case here. Maybe he'll have that one lined up in towards the middle, because I think that might be just one of those shots that is actually available there to his name. So now 13 points clear. Of course, looking to make that sort of 100 points unanswered here, because it was a single point that Jack has managed to score in the previous frame. So Chomp has gone for a reckless shot here to an extent, trying to send the cue ball in towards the reds. And once again, just like it was on the previous occasion, it's not going to get him anywhere, because he's going to have to be forced to play a safety shot here, trying to use that right-hand cushion to send the cue ball in towards the main pack of reds, but ultimately caught them from downside, which was always going to get him on a very compromised position in terms of the one that he's got lined up in towards the right middle. And he still took it on. I don't think it was the right shot for him to play. It just shows you the way that this final has been played in so far. And he's going to miss this one. So back to the table will step up Jack here. Ultimately, Chomp will probably be happy with the way he's managed to have himself lined up on the red previously. And of course not give the red that he just missed away here to Jack. So even though the both players are actually trying to play some aggressive stuff here, I don't think either of them were quite as happy with the way, you know, we've had 2 frames here played, still nowhere near to reach the middle point of the third one, and it has already been over an hour now for both of us. And I mean, Lisowski has gone for I mean, if the shot from Chomp on the previous time was reckless, I mean, it's hard to describe the way that Jack has tried to take the difficulty plus their shot there for him. And he was very much one of those that you would classify as impossible there for you. I wouldn't say he was risking a lot there. I think, realistically, the only red that he could give away was the one that he was actually playing. And ultimately, he has managed to leave that one on here for Chomp. And the question is he going to try and attempt it? He will. And once again, there, just like he was on the previous time of asking, Chomp was not risking a massive lot there. And, the only realistically red that he could give away was the one that he was playing in towards the yellow pocket. Ultimately, it doesn't seem to be causing him too much damage. And Lisowski this time around will break the chain of trying to go for reckless long shots and try and send the cue ball a bit down the table with a nice little safety shot to play to his name. And Trump will try and get the cue ball down the table this time around, as he still has a little look to see if the reds are going to be playable there for him. Of course, not going to be anything available in towards the right corner, otherwise Jack wouldn't have played the shot that he actually tried to do on the previous time of asking. Trump will just follow the example and try and roll those reds even closer towards the yellow pocket. Make sure that he's going to give nothing away here as an invitation to Lisowski himself. So still very much players trying to stay in control of the way they have been playing, especially for Jack. It has to be reasonable in terms of the play. Ever since that mistake that he made in the second frame, he can't do that anymore because he hasn't got that frame cushion to his name. And also he's trying to take those shots on when you're consistently making them, but after he has been missing them shot after shot there and has a pot success of under 70% here in the final after 2 and a bit frames being played, I think he's going to have to step down here from his aggressive approach and try and make it a bit more reasonable. Yes, I mean, talk about reasonable. Chomp goes for an aggressive double in towards the right middle. Ultimately, probably was never going to leave the same red away for it to be playable here for Judd. And therefore, Jack is going to try and follow the example and send the red, which is currently sitting on the ball cushion, down the table and have the cue ball lined up there. But I don't think he was trying to get the double kiss, even though it was one of those slightest ones that he's not going to compromise the cue ball massively. Still kind of had the cue ball position better than it is going to be now, as he gives away the turn here to the world number 1. As Judd tries to calm himself down and try and play the shot, which maybe he's going to get the pink into play, but ultimately he's going to have to try and get the cue ball into the safe zone. And I mean, unless he's going to have the blue in the way, I don't think he's managed to complete that task. This is bread and butter for the shots for Jack Lisowski to try and take on. He'll know this one better than anyone. These shots are going to be the factor for him to try and beat on the front foot here against Judd Chomp. And although he does make it with a brilliant pot, he's not going to be on the cue ball on the black here. And he has lost the cue ball, as you can see with the audience. I mean, they were applauding. And the second time you actually have a look at the position he finds himself in, you know that, he lost the control of the white, and therefore he's going to have to play a safety shot here. Although he has managed to take this one quite well, get the cue ball as close as he probably could have there, in towards the ball cushion. So still having 19 points of a gap there to his name, with Judd Chomp, as he's looking to go for that 2-1 lead here after the opening 3 frames. And guarantee himself the fact that he's not going to be on the losing side going into the intermission. Not necessarily the worst outcome for Jack either. But as I say, from my point of view, if he wants to win this Alex Higgins trophy, which I'm sure he will, he has to make sure that he takes the opening session by at least 5 frames to 3. And, anything apart from that, and anything lower than that, of course, from his point of view, is going to be a massive challenge going into section number 2. Especially if Trump manages to keep up the pace of the game, which he has been playing right now for the majority of the third frame, just playing those safeties to a brilliant extent here. Once again, just pushing Lisowski into potentially taking the reds that, are going to be either very difficult on, or the ones that you're unable to play a safety from. And I mean, he's gone for 50-50 there in terms of which one of those was he actually trying to do. certainly going for the pot, but also trying to get the cue ball up the table there. In the end, he's going to catch the blue pretty much full ball here and have the cue ball stuck very close towards the blue line. Trump is going to be faced himself with a shot which is going to be difficult for him to take in towards the right corner, and unless he gets the cover with the yellow, he's going to leave the same red away here to Jack. So not flawless and also not clinical is the way for you to describe both of these players. And of course that's going to be playing in Jack's favour, because that's the type of snooker that he's been managing to defeat his opponents in. Once again, this time around, gets the red in perfectly in terms of the position on the pink being to follow. Another chance there presented to himself. Right now, just take the pink in towards the right corner. Have yourself with a couple of reds lined up to at least catch Trump in terms of the points scored in the current frame. And then try and take it from there. Potentially bring the black into play with the next couple of shots. And to have yourself lined up for somewhat straightforward break here, which will get him a substantial point advantage, which he's going to be very much seeking for here. Goes for the red in towards the left corner. Just having a look to see if he's going to be able to get the cue ball in towards those reds. In the end, the answer was there for him, and I don't think he's going to be the answer that he was looking for, because even though he managed to get the cue ball in towards the reds, A, he didn't actually free the black, and B, it hasn't finished on the colour either. So he's going to try and take the yellow in towards its own pocket, and ultimately it's still going to be alright here for the shot in towards the right corner. So very much recovering nicely there for him. Was a bit, one of those shots that if you don't make, you'll be blamed massively on the commentary box and by all the pundits and experts. But if you make it, you give yourself an extra chance to stay in the break, but it's only going to be for an extra shot here, because the next red in towards the right corner is going to be missed, unfortunately, for Jack Lisowski. It was actually probably the easiest shot of the two that he had to play. But catching the front shot was always going to turn the red against him, and this chance is going to be presented to Trump here. Ultimately, slightly easier than the one that Lisowski had to himself, for the reason of it being with fewer reds here on the table. But the first shot is going to be clinical, and it's going to be very important here from Trump, and he hasn't actually managed to perform. So both players are not getting the most of the positional play. Both of them are just trying to go for the power instead of accuracy with the cue ball, and Trump was clearly relying on the fact that he was going to force the way through those reds and have himself lined up on anything. In the end, he didn't manage to do that, and has to play a safety shot here to make sure he's not going to leave any invitation here for Jack to try and take the red in towards the left corner. And the left middle one was also being available. And Jack himself has to play a very much a shot that he's going to lead the cue ball in towards the left part of the table. And plays it quite nicely there, to be fair. So, his safety play is getting better. I think his main problem for Jack here so far has been the fact that he's been a bit too reckless with taking the shots on, which are always going to compromise you in one way, shape or form. And I think he's going to be shorting the pace here from Trump as he gives 4 points away here to Lisowski. And ultimately, this could be quite important here at this stage. We only have 83 points on the table. And the fact that, Trump is no longer having that points advantage, which, 20 at this stage would have been something a substantial lead. Right now, it's only going to be 6 points, and attempt number 2 coming up. Very much similar approach here for him. Has to make sure that the cue ball is not going to roll off here, and he's going to get this time around though. So back to Jack it goes. Once again, he just has to have a look to see with the way the cue ball is going to have to be positioned here onto the top part of the table, and try and have this one lined up for a shot in towards the left corner. But ultimately, it was a very, very weird shot for him to try and play, because I think potentially he was trying to jaw Trump here, but ultimately he's going to give the ball in hand here, and he drops the cue ball in towards the left middle quite comfortably here. It wasn't risking a lot, but he certainly gave a potential chance away of him getting ahead in this safety battle. Away to Judd Trump. And Chompis has to make sure that he manages to capitalize on that mistake. And I think he did, because the cue ball position is going to be absolutely sublime there for him. Reestablishes that 10-point lead, which he lost out on trying to roll the cue ball in towards the red, off in towards the left corner. And in the end, it's going to be Jack's turn to try and play a cross double himself. Get the cue ball down the table, but obviously doesn't feel like the angle is there for him to try and actually play the cross double. So has to go for one of the edge of the reds. Has to make sure he's not going to catch the jaw of the middle pocket, but ultimately he's going to get the ultimate kiss there on the jaw of the middle pocket, and actually could have himself lined up in behind the brown here, which has gone out of his spot as well. So, you know, as I say, it has been the case in the first frame. Very much has been the case on a couple of times here in the third frame. The luck has been on Jack Lisowski's side, and he has to make sure that he capitalizes on that chance and actually takes it and converts it into a frame win. Whether it's going to be here or later on in the match. To try and make sure he doesn't let Chomp get away with this one, because he's just so good at building momentum there, Chomp. He's managed to win 3 frames against John Higgins, managed to do 4 frames against Mark Cullen, and managed to take 3 of those against Guy Wilson there. All top class of position, especially if you look in the recent weeks from Higgins' point of view, and with the entire season. If you talk about Allen and Wilson himself, as the match time is going to reach an hour here. Still no real sign for us to get through frame number 3. As Chomp is going to try and have the cue ball sent in towards the lower part of the table. And this is going to be a risky attempt there for him. Because, I mean, yeah, I think he played it with too much power. I think it was a decent effort there if you play the cue ball with pretty much no pace at all. But, of course, it's such difficult for you to judge when you're trying to play pretty much 1.5 lengths of the table, and this is a chance given away once again here to Jack. And the extent of how good it's going to be is going to be told to me by the fact if he makes the pink in right now in towards the right middle and has himself lined up for the red in towards the left corner as well. So the first part of the task is going to be completed as he takes the pink quite comfortably there in towards the right middle, gets himself lined up on the red to finally have himself re-established back in the lead of this frame. And ultimately we are going to be very low on reds here. Only 5 of them remain, and probably all 5 are actually out of position here. So Jack has to make something happen for him to actually have the cue ball lined up on the next red. But I mean, the way for you to be lined up on the next red, you have to make sure you get the pink in first. And pretty much just like I did, he took the eye off the pot here and didn't actually take the pink in. And I think the little bonus there for him is going to be the fact that the pink is actually covered up the path of the red. So let's see if Chomp is going to be able to take another red in towards the left corner. But I think the black is going to be in the way of that. And I think Chomp is going to make this red in, and he will. So he took a double on. It was risky. And let's see how many points he's actually going to give him once again here. Going to struggle to get on the next red here, even though it was a good shot there for him. Now, it looked like he was actually going to go towards the far jaw of the middle pocket, but he makes the double in. And right now he's going to have himself lined up on this red in towards the left corner, although it's going to be far from ideal. So now 10 points clear for Judd Chomp. And so we enter the 59-point zone left on the table. And this is where reds are going to be very important here for Chomp, but also he has to make sure he doesn't leave an invitation away, because the lower the number of reds is actually going to be here, the more of a chance that Lisowski is going to be finally able to convert it into a chance that he's actually getting this frame on the board. For now, the main focus is going to have to be for Chomp to try and make this red in towards the left corner, and certainly mission accomplished at that time. Managed to take it really, really nicely here. But once again, they're just like it was previously, just focusing on the red and the positional play too much here, and missing the black in towards the right corner off the spot here. So now being 11 points clear, could have been 18 there, and you know, something that could still come back and bite you later on in the frame, because Jack is not going to have anything available here to himself. He's just going to have the cue ball lined up in behind the pink for one of the reds to go into the top part of the table. Therefore, just forced Trump to try and spread the two reds along the cushion, far from it, away from each other. Ultimately, he was never going to leave a red on for Jack Lisowski here, but he's going to have that luxury that Trump didn't have on the previous shot of actually taking that red in towards the top part of the table. Can even, of course, try and attempt it in towards the green pocket, but, I mean, with the way he's played it, I mean, is he going to get lucky once again here? He's going to have the cue ball position in behind the yellow, and I mean, just like he was in behind the brown previously, he's going to get all the luck in the world now in the first opening frame and now third frame as well. And he just makes it so tricky for Trump to actually judge it. If he's going to go for the red close to the left cushion, it's going to be a bit easier for him to judge the pace, to roll the cue ball in towards the reds onto the lower part of the table. But instead, I don't think it's going to be from the first attempt, and it's going to be 4 foul points given away to Jack here. And attempt number 2 coming up shortly. I don't think Jack will have any sort of initiative to try and take the position on from this regard. So we'll have Trump respotted, and this attempt certainly looking a lot better. And I mean, it's a nice shot there, very well played from Trump, because he managed to have it played with just as little power as possible. Ultimately, I think Jack will see if those two reds are forming a perfect plant in towards the left corner. But once again there, those types of shots are difficult to play when it's a single red in towards the corner. So surely it just has to try and send the cue ball away from the pack. Yeah, I mean, it was possible there for him, and he took it on. And that time exactly worked out for a single point to be scored. Let's see if he's going to get some more foul points. He was trying to get the cue ball lined up for the black here. Ultimately overscrewed for it. Therefore, he's going to get the red in, which is important, of course, because that means that he's not going to give the same red away here to Trump. But ultimately, he still has to stay behind here for this stage of the frame. Although it is going to be only 6 points here. And every single colour, every single red is out of position. And also play for in this third frame, which, just like it was in the first one, feels like it's going to be a massive one for either player to take on and actually make it the one that counts for them. So just decides to go with a slight little contact there in towards the black and have Trump snookered with at least the lower red not being available to play. I still think that Trump is going to be able to swerve around the black to make sure that he's going to catch the red closer to the left-hand cushion. May not actually have to swerve around it, maybe actually able to see it. And just send the cue ball onto the top part of the table. Nice shot, nicely played. I think it would have been even nicer had the cue ball stopped a couple of centimeters earlier, because he would have had the cue ball lined up with the yellow and the brown in the way of the red. In the end, Jack can still see the red, but has to be very careful of not cannoning this red into the other red there, available in towards the left corner, because he's going to have one of those left there for Trump as an invitation to take on. So as I say, as it has been getting to this point, we are reaching the end game point of this frame, and still no real sign of who's actually going to be the winner here. But Lisowski managed to take the shot really, really well here. I mean, he was able to see the red closer to the corner pocket that way. He's pushed it towards the left corner in a way that he wasn't going to get too close to actually potting it. Make sure that he's not going to wobble in the jaws for your opponent, and therefore get the cue ball onto the top part of the table with no damage done to your chances at all. Trump manages to respond with a decent safety of his own, but ultimately still leaves one of those reds available here for Jack to play. But he didn't play it as well as he could have. And ultimately, it's going to be the red given away here to Trump. In an awkward way, though, but it's still the one that he has to take in towards the right corner to get himself a couple of more points clear going into the last and deciding points of this frame number 3. But once again, as he was on the second frame, he's just not a fan of those shots there, Trump, so far today. And he's going to miss this one once again. Of course, was compromised slightly by the fact that he had to bridge over yellow and place his hand quite awkwardly on towards the brown zone. So Lisowski, once again, this time around, is going to have a much better chance here to try and get the cue ball in behind that lovely bridge of yellow and brown formed. In the end, he's going to catch the green on the way in. So still a decent safety, but not the one that is going to put any sort of pressure here on Trump. And, he was thinking about potentially taking the red in towards the corner pocket, but obviously decided against it, as that pocket probably has been the downfall of him so far. But still going to play a decent enough safety shot, which is going to mean that Jack has to try and perform a shot with his own. And nice little gap that he found for the red, and the cue ball once again here heading towards the green pocket. So it's still going to be a chance away for Trump to take this red in towards the left corner, but with the way and the distance in between those two, and especially if you look at the colours and the way they're positioned right now, you'd be surprised to see him take that shot on. And instead, he's going to find a brilliant safety here to play to finally get the cue ball in behind the green. It was a nice little temptation for any one of the two players to actually aim the cue ball in towards. And in the end, Jack has to try and play around the green here. And he's going to be making a mess here on the table, because he caught the green first there. I mean, yeah, he caught that one by quite a margin. I mean, Rob Spencer clearly sees the funny side of it. But I don't think Jack will be. I think he certainly was scared at that time. But he's going to give 4 points away here to Trump, which is not going to be all sorts of disaster. And right now, going to be, once again, a little bit of delay in the play for us to have the position of the yellow, the green, and the cue ball re-established back exactly to where it was previously. And hopefully the action will resume very shortly here. Just looking to see if we're going to have that from Rob Spencer. He just has to try and make sure that the cue ball is going to be placed in the best possible manner, I should say. As a little look, and a bit further down, the cue ball has to go in towards the green pocket. By the way, as there's a little bit of a delay, I will say thank you very much for everyone joining in. Thank you very much for watching. And it certainly has been a very fun second Home Nations tournament. So if you are new to the channel, feel free to subscribe and hit the like button on the stream. Thank you very much for everyone getting in and enjoying the context in between the two players. Still very much yet to get to a fast start here, but you know, we've seen that in second frame, and now we have to go through a little bit of a safety battle. So yeah, I mean, the referee and the assistant referee were happy with the order, but I mean, Jack probably isn't going to be, because he's having a look to see if he's actually going to be able to get through to that red. So attempt number 2 finally coming up here for Jack. Has to make sure that he's going to be better than the one that he's managed to produce last time. And he will be, in terms of him actually catching the red. And he's played the shot quite well, because he's not going to give anything away here from the potting point of view, you would think, to Judd Chomp. Maybe he'll be able to take the red in towards the left middle, but I mean, it's not going to get him on the colour anyway. And swiftly refusing that shot, and once again, their beautiful cue ball position to have this one lined up in behind the blue this time around. And of course, he can't have that luxury of playing a little swerve this time. I mean, maybe he's just going to be able to, but this is a massive shot for him to take on, because it's going to be very high risk in the case of him missing the shot. And I think he's played it well. I think he's played it very well indeed, because the problem with you playing the shots cushion first there, as the frame is going to reach 30 minutes once again here, is the way those two reds were spread out away from each other. You were always going to leave at least one of them available. So Trump here just trying to get the yellow in between the cue ball and the red here. And in the end, he's going to nicely split the bridge of the yellow and the brown. So certainly not going to have Lisowski in this much trouble, but still having to bridge over the yellow here and saves the shot brilliantly here. So the safety play has certainly been on the best level that we've seen from the players in frame number 3. Therefore, I think this is why we actually still have this frame going, because the standard of snooker has been fantastic here on the safety play. Of course, a lot worse on the pot success thing, but that may be a thing that is still to come, as you know, the safety has forced Trump into an error, And it could be the one that Jack Lisowski actually takes on here, as the chance is going to be given to him to try and take this red in towards the left corner, with Trump catching the front jaw off the middle pocket. Now, this is a chance for him to take this red away, and he will take this red away. So all about having that position on the blue here, which is going to be waiting there for him to try and be taken in towards the yellow pocket, but not this time around. So, one more attempt to lay off impossible snooker, of course, for Trump to make sure he's going to be put into all sorts of pressure and trouble. And he's made the mess of that. He's quite frankly made an absolute mess of that, because it was a golden chance there for Lisowski. And he's managed to have the cue ball placed anywhere but in the danger zone. And basically, he's tried to play the green in towards those to have that sent through the gap. In the end, he managed to cannon the green in towards the yellow and brown. Therefore, he's actually left Trump with an easier shot to play. But it's still going to be the one. Ooh, I thought the cue ball was going to drop here, but I don't know how. But he's managed to stay up here. So, I mean, I was saying that Trump was going to, get himself and call himself unlucky here earlier on, but not so much now. 85% of a safety success and 84 here for the two players. Trump leading by a single percentage here, which I think is going to be taken back here, because the shot that Lisowski has just played is going to be brilliant. It's really going to take the safety up a level there for him. You get a grand if Lisowski wins. Good. Good for you. I get a lot of happiness from Lisowski fans if he's actually going to win. And they're going to be happy for the lad, of course. And to be fair, haven't really got a horse in the race. Will be probably happy if Trump wins this one and makes it first tournament that he's actually managed to win in 11 months there for himself. So once again, finds a nice little swerve there around the red to get the cue ball down the table and have that red position onto the top part of it. So just having a look to see if he's going to be able to take this one in towards the left-hand side of the table. Still doesn't seem to have a clear idea on his face. Maybe trying to send that cue ball in towards the little group of yellow and brown. Maybe try and send the red in towards that group instead. I mean, it was risky sending that red towards it, because you could have left yourself facing the snooker on the next shot. And instead, it's going to be Trump with all the initiative once again here. Something that I did say quite a few times throughout the majority of this third frame. But he's certainly going to try and convert this momentum into something special there for him. And once again there, it's a nice little shot in terms of getting the cue ball in behind that the yellow and brown zone. But it looks like Lisowski is going to be able to get through to this red and actually pot it in towards the left corner. So a chance for Trump there is going to turn into a chance for Jack Lisowski. But ultimately, how many points is going to be able to manage from this position? Yellow, brown are all compromised and are all going to be needed here for Jack. Maybe you just get the 5 points from the blue, get yourself a single point ahead, and try and do something on the yellow. Maybe he's going to try and do it right here, right now. Or maybe, of course, he can try and get the brown and get cannon the cue ball in towards the brown. Have Trump lined up with the snooker situation. But it's still not probably not going to be the one that is actually going to get Trump into so much trouble that you might say it's a shot worth taking on. Still think that he has to take those 5 points, because you never know the situation that you're going to find yourself facing later on in the frame. That's exactly what he's going to do there. So the first time in a while, he's actually going to find himself only a single point clear. But ultimately, it's going to be the point that counts there for him. So 6 colours, 2 players all to play for in the third frame. Only the blue is currently on his spot there. And of course, very much for the reason of Jack actually just spotting this blue. Now, can he take this as a double? He's committed to it, and he's going to make this one stick there. So all issues and all eyes are going to be on this brown. And this transition from green towards the brown becomes absolutely massive, because it's all going to be absolutely to nothing. He's not going to be able to get himself on the brown. So make the green in first. And he hasn't managed to do it. Is he going to bounce on towards the middle pocket? I think it's not. But ultimately, I can't really see Trump generating massive amount of pace on this one. So it's going to be 8 points scored here from Jack. 3 points clear. Trump is about to go level on points here as he tries to pot the green in towards the right middle. And nice little shot there from Trump, but never going to get himself on the brown in terms of actually potting it in towards the green pocket. What does the table look like at the moment? How many colours safe? All of them are safe, apart from the blue here. Let's see if Trump is going to be able to get the brown in, of course. He's going to have to try and play with power. And in the end, he's going to miss this one. So the brown was safe at that time. It was always going to be very difficult for him to take that shot. And in the end, he probably committed to the fact that he's going to run himself out of the jaws here. So once again, battle for the brown it is going to be now. Of course, both players are going to need brown, blue and pink combination. Blue is the only of the three colours currently on its spot, and the pink is still going to be accessible there on the lower part of the table, but very much far away from an easy position for any one of the players to try and roll that one in. So the battle for the brown shall begin here, as Lisowski just tries to get the cue ball onto the little spine line there and have blue blocking the access to the brown, which is going to be the direct one. Nice little attempt there. Not so nice with the execution. I mean, it's still a nice little safety shot, but not actually that good for him to lay a snooker on Judd Trump. So he's now 41 points each, 22 points, and one winner of this frame. Of course, Lisowski managed to win the frame of a very similar format here earlier in the match, with it being the opening one. Can he take it 2 out of 2 here and once again re-establish his lead of a single frame there? Or can Trump finally respond with some confidence boost to himself? So Lisowski has got a nice little line here to try and get the cue ball in behind the black in the end. Gonna run himself out of angle there, to be fair. But still, it's a nice little safety shot for him to try and play. So all about trying to get this brown of a cushion first shot there. And I think he's going to cannon itself in towards the left middle, but it's not quite going to reach it. So the pace will judge nicely there for the brown here. And all eyes are going to be on this little cross double here from Jack. Surely he's not going to attempt the long brown here. And try and send the cue ball towards the green pocket and get himself up in a really nice fashion there. Having the pink very close to the brown as well. It's not going to be a massive boost to Trump's hopes anyway, because he's just going to slow the trajectory of the brown down and therefore make it potentially possible if Trump sends it towards the right corner pocket. And instead, I mean, he's cannoned the cue ball in towards the pink slightly, making that one closer towards the middle part of the table, but ultimately still being very close towards the black ball cushion. So that's not going to be a favour to any one of these two. And Jack here going for a 3 cushion shot and a nice little free transition usually would be called, not having these brown down the table, but I think he's left an invitation away to Trump to take this brown into the left corner. I mean, if he does it this time, it's going to be absolutely brilliant outcome there for him, as he takes this one in and he misses it out though. So he committed to it, and the brown is going to go just about as safe as it could have done, to be fair, right underneath the pink. I think Lisowski's going to be able to see the edge of that, but still, I mean, Trump will absolutely take anything like that to go in his favour. And these could be curtains for Jack Lisowski, because not only has he missed the brown, he's going to give a free ball away, inevitably. And the reason why I say it's going to be curtains is that, you know, it's going to be 4 points given away here to Judd Trump. He's going to have the blue taken for the value of the brown, which is going to put him 8 points clear. So not quite curtains, but he's going to put a massive string and a sting in the tail here into towards Jack Lisowski's hopes of winning this frame. Once again, just having a look to see if it's going to be worth there for him to take this position away. Surely it is going to be the case, because you can't refuse 9 points pretty much given free to you here. I mean, if he gets the cue ball down the table and gets himself lined up on towards the brown as well, he could have Lisowski lined up with a very difficult snooker. So take the blue for the value of the brown and get yourself lined up on the brown itself, all of a sudden you could make yourself an absolute monumental point gap here. So it didn't quite manage to do that though, so still going to be an 8 points of a gap. Ultimately just going to mean the fact that the Trump is only going to need the brown and the blue, and Lisowski is probably going to need all of those colours there to his name. And in the end, it's just going to be a safety lined up here. So still 22 points is going to remain here on the table for Judd Trump. And Jack Lisowski, of course, as well. But ultimately, it's Jack that has to find himself being snookered on this brown. Wants to catch it pretty much full ball there and get the brown, I should say, as far up the table as possible. Nice little shot there for him. I think from the position that he actually found himself, I think he'll take that. But it's still an invitation for Trump to actually take this brown in towards the yellow pocket. Have himself lined up somewhat close to the blue. But in the end, it's an invitation refused here by him. And the line is going to be very nice up towards the pink. Of course, it would have been a lot nicer had it missed the pink by a millimeter and rolled in behind it. But it's still going to be a nice little bonus here for Trump as he's got the blue in between the cue ball and the brown. So 8 points is going to be the gap here between Jack Lisowski and Judd Trump. But is he going to raise to 12 points at least here? And it does look to be the case, unless the cue ball manages to catch the brown with the last gasp of face. And just about is going to be the case. So nice little shot there from Jack. Of course, can't afford to go 12 points down, because that's going to need him requiring the black as well, which so far right now is very much in a difficult spot there for him. And Trump just leaving that brown as close as possible there towards the ball cushion. So just having a look to see if he's going to be available there for Jack to take the brown out of the game and put it down the table here. It's not going to be the case this time around. So just set the cue ball down and pretty much have the brown remain in the same position as it was previously. So Trump can try and send the brown down the table here and finally re-establish himself as the favourite for the safety play. And he decides to do that by playing a cushion first shot. In the end, it does look like it's going to be a perfect outcome there for him, because the brown is going to land exactly on top of the pink. Which, you know, it could be a blessing in disguise there for Jack if he manages to take the pink into the availability play. But in the end, I mean, has he not left this brown on there for Trump? We're going to find out very shortly. But I think he's played a decent shot there. And ultimately, Trump has to go for the right corner there. And is he going to leave this brown away for Jack this time around? Has he judged the pace perfectly? I think he's managed to be fair. I mean, it's marginal. This brown could be potable here for Jack in towards the left corner. And of course, from there, could be able to take the total clearance on, barring the black, and at least guarantee yourself a respot. And Jack clearly doesn't think that. And I mean, he's managed to cannon the pink in towards the open play a bit more there. Still remains to be the same here. Trump has 8 points of a gap. 22 still on the table. And, you know, can try and send it towards the pink this time around with the brown. And try and get the cue ball in behind the blue. Not for the first time, of course, in this frame. And I think he's pretty much done mission successful there on himself. Because I think Lisowski can get through to this brown. But ultimately, he's not going to be able to do it in the fashion that he's actually going to guarantee himself a safe place here on the cue ball. But he's managed to play the shot quite nicely. And what I like to see, blue lines up right above the cue ball. Not going to be the case though. So the luck that he was having at the start of the third frame, and certainly in frames number 1 there, seems to have run out there for him slightly. And Trump has to try and take this brown in towards the right middle pocket. And get the cue ball lined up exactly on towards the black ball cushion. Nicely played there on that shot. And in the end, once again there, Lisowski has to try and make sure that he's going to have the black in between the brown and the cue ball. And he's played this shot to an absolute perfection there. The only slight issue for him is going to be the fact that the brown It's going to be exactly on the cushion, but I mean, it's not close to the cushion, it's exactly on the cushion. So this could be as much of an advantage there to Lisowski, because now it all comes down to those skills of snooker escaping here from Chom. Surely he has to take it into a two cushion escape. I mean, he's tried to do it one cushion here. It's going to be risky, and it's going to be a chance given away. Don't know why he's tried to take it with a one cushion escape. Surely he had to play into the left side of the table first, and then try and send the cue ball in towards the right hand cushion. Two cushion escape would have been logical for me. But whatever Chomp had on his mind, it's going to be these brownies available now for Lisowski to try and take. Is he going to take it though? Yes, he will. But ultimately, how's his position on the blue? It's marginal, but it's not perfect. So 4 points, he's going to go his way. And ultimately, you probably have to take this blue in towards the right corner, which makes the shot a lot more difficult. And he doesn't make it. You can see that he didn't make it. And where's the cue ball going to finish? He's going to finish in not the worst possible position there for Lisowski, but ultimately, of course, Chomp has got blue and pink available to his name. So if he manages to cut the blue in towards the right corner, certainly he's going to be able to get himself on the pink in towards the left one. Of course, as he goes 9 points clear here, he's not going to need the black yet. Lisowski will. Unless he's going to be happy to settle for a respot. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, because Judd has managed to pull off a brilliant shot off the blue in towards the right middle. And now ultimately the shot that Jack took in towards the right corner does seem to have actually cost him this frame. That's going to be the case if Chomp manages to take the pink in towards the left corner. And that's going to be the case. So after an early scare there and an open frame loss, Judd has managed to recover and take the third frame in a very similar fashion, and now he's going to lead Jack Lisowski by 2 frames to 1 going into the last frame of the first mini session. So very much action-packed here, and there's still no signs of players slowing down, as we're still yet to see the best out of them in terms of the break building, but certainly have seen a lot of the safety battle in between the two of them. And right now, let's see if that's going to be remaining to be the case throughout the majority of this encounter here. So we wait for the players to come back on the arena, and when they do, finally, can we get a nice little break like it was in the second frame from Judd to make sure that it's going to be one mistake and it's over. Something that very much wasn't the case in frames number 1 and 3. And well, it turns into a very important frame for Lisowski to take, because you know, if he goes into the second mini session going 3-1 down, it's going to be about damage limitation there, and probably trying to have that 4-0 draw in within Judd going into the second session, which, as I say, I just don't think it's going to be enough there for him actually to be victorious in this campaign, unless we're going to see a massive drop-off there from Chomp's point of view performance. Still, the referee is the only person out of the three left out in the arena, as both of the players will have to go for a bathroom break inevitably after such a lengthy frame there. And of course it is going to be 3 frames I should say, almost taking 2-hour gap there. So it has been 2 hours since the match has actually started. Still no sign of it finishing anytime soon. With of course us only getting the 3 frames underway, we're still going to see 5 more of those later on in the opening session here, until we're back to the action 4 hours from now. So, you know, players have to make sure that they're not going to be playing at this rate as it stands here, to make sure they're going to be able to return in time for the main action to resume here. And on table number 1, and of course the only one left out here, is the colours are ready, the cue ball is ready, and the reds are certainly waiting there for Judd, Jack Lisowski and Rob Spencer to come back on the arena to take another step there towards, or back there away from the Alice Higgins Trophy, which is going to be very much tempting both of the players, and it's going to be a nice little motivation if they need any of it going into the last frame of the opening mini session. As it stands though, it is Judd leading by 2 frames to 1. Jack Lisowski has to find himself bouncing back here after losing 2 frames of the bounce in very much contrasting circumstances. one thing that you have to say about Lisowski's point of view is going to be, it's fine for him to take the opening frame, especially in the way that he did, and it was a nice little bonus, but this is why you can't really give away those positional mistakes that he's managed to sort of give away to Judd Trump in frame number 2, because it was one mistake and it was over. Because Trump was able to make a break of 97 points to his name and get himself a nice little frame on the board, which ultimately has resulted in having a nice little frame buffer now to his name. Because it's going to be Trump to break off here for the fourth frame to get underway. So has to avoid the mistake of the one that Lisowski made in frame number 3, but ultimately managed to get away with that one. In the end, it's not going to be a mistake by Trump, but it's still going to be leaving a red on for Lisowski to take on in towards the right corner. This time, of course, going to be mindful of the fact that he's now finding himself on the losing side of things and just going to take the sort of careful approach here. Pot success still being far from ideal. And 68% from Jack Lisowski here, and 83 from Judd Trump's point of view. 215 points scored, and 109 from Jack Lisowski's point of view. Safety says pretty equal there, 88% each. But ultimately, I just think that hot success is going to be a massive damage, and he's going to be doing some massive damage here so far to Jack Lisowski. So he's having a nice little chance to set the cue ball in towards the lower part of the table once again. And have that one lined up. Well, sort of in behind the black, but not quite there. You can't give Trump an inch, especially in the current form. Yeah, you can't do that. And one thing you absolutely can't do is allow him to win 1, 2, maybe 3 frames on the bounce. Because, as I said, he's done it against Wilson, he's done it against Higgins, and he's done that against Holland yesterday, winning 3 or more frames on the bounce there, and he's unstoppable when he hits that ground running. Hasn't done that, so that's the main dangerous thing here to Jack Lisowski, because Trump is still been playing way below average, and the only way for him to actually go from here is going to be up and improving his form. So, which is why it's going to be so important for Jack to actually try and re-establish himself, and which is why I said for him to be the winner of this trophy, he needs to make sure he gets this first session under his belt. Because, as I said, 4-0 is not going to be enough there from my point of view. He needs to be applying some pressure on Trump earlier on, and so far, he's the player that all the pressure applies to right now. Trump, by the way, still leading the poll by 56%. So, still very much there. A lot of people giving Lisowski a chance. But ultimately, I still think it's going to be a massive mountain for him to climb, should he not be the winner of this frame. And even if you let Judd Trump to a 2-frame cushion, I just can't see the winner. The problem with Trump is, and the problem with you trying to challenge Trump is, can you actually see Lisowski winning 3 frames on the bounce against Judd Trump in the final? When one of these players has got 30 ranking event wins and one of them's got 0. Because I can't see Lisowski just saying, you know what, I've been playing badly, let's put it this way, and Trump has been playing alright, and I'm just going to go, you know what, I'm just going to click, and I'm going to win 3 frames on the bounce, and I'm going to turn this match around completely in my favour. I just can't really see him doing that. And for that to be the case, of course, he needs to start playing a lot better. And, the main aspect of the game that has actually struggled has not been the safety success, which I thought was going to be his main downfall. Right now, it has been in missing way too many shots here, which, makes the more difficult ones. But then he'll either mess himself up on the positional play, or just give his opponent a chance, which should have never presented to himself. Once again here, Trump just about gets away with his red. I mean, he was travelling down the table. Looked like he was going to be available there for Jack to take on. Ultimately, ain't going to be the case. And, well, looks like back to square one we go. Of course, Jack would have been very much looking forward to taking that red in towards the left middle, but I don't think he's going to be looking forward to the fact that he's going to play a shot, which, once again there, just like it was in frame number 2, it could cost him the frame. Straight like that, and straightforward like that. could cost him the frame once again, because if anything, this position is actually going to be favourable to Chomp even more than the one we've seen him take and perform with brilliant fashion in frame number 2 at that time, because, you know, he's probably has got around 10 reds available now to his name. Those spread out really nicely. I mean, I don't know why on earth you would go for the shot into the pink. By the way, I did say 10 reds available to Chomp. I wasn't kidding and I wasn't exaggerating. He's took one of them out and he's tried to play the cue ball in towards the pink. Once again, I mean, he probably is lucky that he's doing that with being 2-1 up here, but absolutely, I don't understand the shot that he's played. He's going to run himself out of position, which, I mean, you're not really going to get a position better than that in the final, I'll tell you that for free. Waste there from Chom. Let's see if he's going to cost him, though. He's still going to have well, he's not going to have an attempt of taking the pink on, because that's going to be way too difficult of a cut for him to make. So has to play a safety shot and has to get the cue ball up the table once again. And, you know, although Judd Chomp has been given an inch, he certainly hasn't been able to find a foot out of it. And, I mean, he could have played a much better safety than that. Once again, it's a chance given away here to Lisowski. And the position hasn't been compromised here by Chomp. He knows as he goes back to his seat, if Lisowski makes this one, it could be a complete turnaround. But he doesn't make it. So clearly struggling for any sort of long shot or pot success. And the chance goes back to Chomp here. You know, compromise some of those reds to send back into the pack. And ultimately Chomp is just having a look to see if he's going to have that red available to his name towards the left corner. Of course, these shots haven't been missed previously by Lisowski at any stage of this tournament. But they are getting missed right now at the stage when it matters. Is Chomp going to make this red in? He is. Is he going to be on the colour though? Not so sure. Not so sure. It was favourable actually for the cue ball not to go in towards the right middle. But ultimately still has to play a semi-difficult shot now of the blue in towards the yellow pocket. Could be a complete turnaround into the one that Lisowski has missed in towards the green pocket. But ultimately, the difference is Chomp made his shot stick there. And he's now going to be 7 points clear going into still a very favourable position. I wouldn't say it's just as nice for him as it was previously. And the first time of asking, but still has at least 6 reds now to his name. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep, at least 6, maybe 7. Until he has to go into the main bunch of reds. Still has pink available. Once he eliminates a couple of those reds, still has blue and black available in prime spots there for him. So looking likely for Chomp to go 3-1 up here on Jack Lisowski and ultimately take that lead in towards the intermission break, which I said is going to be a recipe for an absolute disaster there if you're a Jack Lisowski fan. And ultimately, where do you go from there? Because, I mean, we're still not there yet, but it is going to be an absolute mission impossible there, even though it's going to be only a 2 frames difference. I just think it's going to be too much of a difference for Lisowski to climb back, which is why he had to be more clinical with the chances that were given to him. And Chomp there just exploiting the maximum amount of space here with the cue ball, very much running himself into, well, close encounter with trouble, but still going to be fine on taking the black in towards the right corner. I think, you know, he's going to have some margin here, so he probably was thinking about not having the cue ball straight on this black and sent in towards the right corner pocket, but he's absolutely made the mess of this shot. I mean, by the way, I will say Judd Chomp is playing some average snooker here, to say the least. That's probably the sort of performance that he's been putting in the first and second stage up against Jackson Page or Anthony McGill there. Has to recover himself once again of playing the red in towards the green pocket. To be fair, he's managed to take it this time around, but has to eliminate all those errors because at some point he's not going to be able to take one of those reds. And he's going to run himself into even more trouble here. For now, of course, the difference between the two players was, you know, even though Chomp had just as many problems, he's managed to get himself out of them every single time of asking. So once again there, I mean, he's having all of those reds available, but he just keeps running himself onto the other red there, which I don't think he was actually intending to play. This time I think he was playing for the right corner. Instead, he's going to go for the red in towards the left part of the table. Ultimately still having a gap of 26 points to his name. Having 3 more reds that I would classify as being very much in open play. To go 33 points clear after this black. Still 99 points on the table. So, you take those 3 reds. You're going to need a couple of more there. But ultimately, it's going to be a nice little cushion there for you to go into that 3-1 lead that I mentioned previously. Trump got this red lined up in towards the left corner. So just play this one for the blue. Ensure that you have to be on the top side of it, which Trump only just about but is going to be on. Take the red in towards the right corner and make sure the one that I still classified as open is going to be available in towards the left corner for you to take on. And then try and do something with a pack of 5 reds just underneath the pink spot. So 40 points clear right now as he gets himself lined up for the black in towards the left corner. So wants a little bit more of the angle, to be fair. Has to make the cue ball travel here with quite a significant power, and force in the end is going to be alright on the red, but I think he would have liked to be a bit straighter on this one. You're going to have the attempt to send the cue ball in towards the reds, but ultimately he doesn't want to do that from the red there. He wants to try and do it from the colour. In the end, has he managed to free up a red? Yes, he has. So brilliant shot there from Trump. When it mattered, he managed to deliver. And probably was the only difficulty of that position, actually making his way through those easy reds at the beginning, not stumbling upon any of them. And right now, just get the best of rewards here. A 53 points lead with the 75 points still on the table. Scoring 52 on the current break. Just take this red in towards the right corner. And he hasn't. Well. Just when you thought he's done all the hard work. I mean, he gets a bit lucky with not leaving anything easy here to Lisowski. But, I mean, yeah, this red shouldn't be missed there by the world number 1, especially in the final stage. That's not really forgivable there for you. As I say, you run himself into a decent position, and he was playing for that red. He didn't have to make any contact with the reds after the blue, which was actually advantage of playing the cannon onto the reds on the previous shot. And therefore, he had himself set up with all the tools there, but in the end, still a slip-up was made. And, well, I mean, Lisowski can't take this red surely towards the yellow pocket. I mean, he can, but I can't really see him making this one. And therefore, just has to go for a sensible shot of sending the cue ball up the table. And giving the turn back to his opponent here. Because good friends, these two, of the snooker table. Of course, when it comes to, they've shared the snooker table for the majority part of their career, playing in junior cups at the beginning of that. But right now, we've, of course, meeting in the 3 ranking event finals previously. It has been Judd victorious every single time there. As I said, from World Grand Prix to Gibraltar Open, we're now travelling back to the Whole Nation Series and having himself set up into a nice little clash here at the Northern Ireland Open. So Lisowski tries to roll the cue ball in towards the red here. I think he's going to be... I mean, he's going to be probably content with the way he's played the shot because, it's not like he could have done anything else. But I'm surprised that he's actually committed to the shot because he's left the red in towards the left corner here for Chomp. And it's one of those, you could call that a bait there, but you can have the cue ball sent far up the table. Of course, you can't really guarantee yourself that you're going to have that red close to the corner covered, which Chomp can't see right now. But ultimately, it's complete control for the world number 1. As long as he makes the pot in, and it's going to be complete out of control if he doesn't make it stick. And, well, I mean, it's not going to get too much better here for him, to be fair, because I thought him actually potting the cue ball was going to be a nice situation for him, but in the end, I don't think it's going to be. Because the ball in hand, it's still going to be a brilliant chance for Jack Lisowski, because not only Judd has missed the red, he's also managed to get the cue ball in. And now, how do you rate this position now for Jack Lisowski to actually make his way through? He's done the hard part there with taking the red in towards the left corner, which still had to be potted. Right now, it's still a massive mountain for him to try and climb. He'll be coming into this break pretty raw there and pretty cold after spending so much time there. Just being sat at the table playing safety shots. It's been certainly a while since he managed to have a a break, if you call that a significant break in the opening stint of 22 points, as his highest one in the match so far. Certainly no answer to the one that Judd had in frame number 2. So you could have a look to see if this black is going to be potable in towards the right corner of the 2 easy reds that you could probably classify them as. He's tried to bring one of those difficult ones into the play. In the end, didn't manage to do that. So he's going to try and take the red closer to the left corner out of the game. Have himself positioned for the black once again here. And, well, he's running out of easy reds. He's got only one more of those to try and take in towards the left corner. And then he's going to have to try and do something with the 2 reds that are actually going to be the more complicated of the 2. Though he's going to get himself a substantial amount of points here. So 24 is his highest break. That was 4 points of Chomp's actually going in off there. In towards the right corner. Could still prove to be very important there for him. As Lisowski's got himself lined up for the black here. So all about the shot that he decides to play. I don't think he's got the angle to cannon in towards the red. So obviously going to try and send the cue ball very much in close relation to that red. And commit to playing it along the cushion here. As I always say, would very much help if that red is going to be dead on the cushion. And it's not there, so it's going to be a very difficult shot for him to take on, but it's the one that he makes. So, is he going to be able to get on this red in towards any of the pockets, really? Don't think he is, unless he goes for a double once again there. It has been a bit of a story of the tournament, especially lately here. Those doubles of Jack Lisowski. But surely you can't be doing that when you're risking going 3-1 down in the final to someone like Judd. But the question is, what's the alternative to him? Yeah, I don't think it's too great, and I think he commits to it. I think he commits for a double, because the way he's played this cue ball, he's certainly going to have the cue ball sent back down the table. And I don't really see him play a safety shot from here, so is it going to be all or nothing? It's going to be nothing for now. As he misses the double, the red is going to be lined up in a decent position there for Chomp to take this red in towards the yellow pocket, but still, it's not going to be an easy shot there for him at all. I mean, when you play the shot with such power, if you know anything about doubles, you have to make sure that you get a lot more of the angle. But ultimately, Lisowski had to be careful that he didn't catch the back jaw, because 90% of the time you'd have the red ricocheting towards the main action of the cue ball, which is where Lisowski didn't want it. But this is where he's going to want this red now after this mistake from Chomp. And he's going to be an absolute traitor here from Chomp. I mean, the cue ball has done its best to try and roll away as far away as possible from the red. Ultimately, this red is going to be taken here by Jack Lisowski shortly into the right middle. He is. As the cue ball going to finish, he's going to finish in the jaws of the green pocket there. And it's all happening on the snooker table just when he thought he couldn't get any more dramatic when he was in the 3rd frame. You haven't seen frame number 4, because now it is the yellow to take in towards the left middle for Jack Lisowski, surely not taking any of the breaks in between the shots. And he manages to make this one stick. But I think he's going to run himself out of position on this yellow, because, of course, after you play the colour after the last red, you still have the yellow respotted here. And he hasn't lined himself up for a straightforward shot here. I mean, do you take the yellow on here, or do you just send it onto the opposite side of the table in relation to the cue ball? I mean, the question to all of those answers, the answers to all of those questions are going to follow very shortly. But Lisowski has to make sure, whatever he does, he doesn't leave this yellow on for Chomp. Easier said than done. And the way to do it is to actually pot it. And he managed to do it. Brilliant stop here from Jack. Still not over just yet. He needs to roll the green in towards its own pocket here. And applying as much backspin as he can to the cue ball. And he makes this one stick. So where's the cue ball going to finish on the brown? It's going to be all right here. So it's all coming apart. It's all coming apart now for him. And it's very nice stuff here being played by Jack. But he still needs the brown to get himself for a straightforward and a routine exit on the blue. And is he going to be there? He needs the cue ball to run. And easy to stop now. I mean, he's in between. But I think he's all right to take it in towards the right middle. 3 points is the gap. So he needs the blue and the pink here. The blue is going to be probably the easier of the two. But he still needs to roll this one in. And he will do that. So the pink for it to be. Nothing to separate these two great players. And it now for us to go with a 2-all draw going into the intermission, and it is going to be the case here. So it is going to be Jack Lisowski 2 and Judd 2 as well. It could have been 3-1 gap there to the world number 1. Instead, we're going to have all to play for going into the second part of this first session. Right now, it's absolutely nothing to separate these two. And in 15 minutes time, after we get through the intermission break, we're going to see which one of them is going to be able to come on top. In the second part of the session, right now, it is Jack Lisowski 2, Judd 2 going into part 2 there, following shortly in 15 minutes time. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, and now in the intermission is officially over, and we can get back to the main action. And what a relief it must have been there for Jack Lisowski when he managed to win that fourth frame. Very important, as I say, for him to just make sure he's not gonna sort of allow Judd to try and escape away from him there. And for now, it's gonna be Chum that actually pushes the black on towards the left-hand side of the table. So a bit of a risky approach there for him, but manages to put that one back in his favour. And still, so back in the action we go. And well, if you talk about the second mini session, I would expect Chomp to finally start to actually play some of his best snooker that we've seen throughout this year. And well, can't really say that we've seen, you know, the best of Jack Lisowski yet in this final anyway, but you know, the best could still be yet to come here. As you know, even though it wasn't the best attacking shot there from Chomp in terms of getting the cue ball above the bulk line, doesn't seem like Lisowski has got a shot that he wants to stick to here, and in the end decides to go for a red that was closest towards the black ball cushion, and just try and put that one towards the black, which is going to be positioned even deeper in towards the cushion now. So back to square one we go, and Jack is now going to sit in his chair, and Chomp now is going to try and put the cue ball towards the lower part of the table. I mean, he had to make sure he didn't leave a shot on for the middle there for Jack, and I think he's managed to cover up the angle there for him. So in the end, it was a couple of reckless shots taken on by Jack Lisowski previously, but you could probably say similar sort of thing there about Judd Chomp. Neither of the players were ready to play on the back foot there, and both of them tried to make absolute maximum of the chances that were presented to them. Of course, the problem is, apart from that nice little break of Judd Chomp in the second frame, we still haven't seen that from any one of the two. It's something that we have seen is an impressive sort of improvement in the safety play from both of them. It's Jack Lisowski just acknowledging the shot that Judd Chomp has played previously, which has put him under a little bit of pressure here. Tries to send the cue ball down the table once again there, potentially lining up for a shot in towards the right corner there, but he's going to make this one. The safety shot that isn't going to be very nice on him. And once again, just like it was in previous frame, it is going to be Jack Lisowski to give away an opening chance here. He spills the water on himself, and he certainly has spilled a chance on Judd Chomp, which he has to make sure that he manages to take on this time around. He's going to be on the wrong side of the blue though, and we'll probably ask the referee to clean the white after not necessarily the most successful of attempts that he's had to his name of trying to get the cue ball back in towards the right side of the blue for him. So has a little look to see if that's going to be available there to his name. Maybe he still has enough of the angle to actually send the cue ball up the table and then trying to bring it back down using the ball cushion to his advantage. But as I say, that goes without saying that he had to make sure that the cue ball was going to leave that path of the way without touching any of the ball colours, which, to be fair, I mean, Chomp has managed to achieve at that time. Now Jack has to just sit in his chair and wait for the chance, hopefully, to present to himself, as he's got this one lined up in towards the right corner, and plays it nicely. In the end, got himself lined up on the pink to take in towards the left corner this time around. Nicely played. And, well, has got a couple of shots that he can try and take advantage of in the next couple of sequences here. He's got the red to take in towards the right middle. And then he's got a couple of reds to try and take on in towards the left and right corner. I think he's tried to go for those two first, as the referee will establish that the pink can go back on his spot and therefore has to be put on where the black would usually be. And don't think Chomp is going to be happy with the way he's actually landed on the red. Clearly trying to take the one into the right corner, but may have to go for the one in towards the left side of the table. And play that one with some conviction and power. Of course, we'll have to bring the cue ball either with just as little power to make sure he's going to be there for the pink, which is currently sitting on the black spot, or for it to be taken as a blue there in terms of his next colour. And in the end, he's tried to take a gamble here, and I don't think he'll make a really great poker player, because, you know, every single time that he's took a gamble previously, it doesn't seem to have paid off for him, and neither has it on this occasion. Still is on the blue marginally, but has to breach over the black here and just making the shot very similar to the one that he has missed on previously. Going into this frame here, so has to make this one stick, and he'll be able to recover and make the most out of the position that he's managed to get to himself. I mean, he's got the blue in, but has he got any of the easier reds to try and play, apart from taking the ones in towards the left corner? The answer seems to be negative once again here. Just has to have a little look to see if the options is going to be there for him, and if he ain't going to be, then we'll have another safety battle. But I think he can take the red in towards the left corner. The question is he actually going to do that, or is he going to give a chance away here to Jack? And in the end, he's going to be missed there for Judd Trump. You know, he managed to have the cue ball lined up for the blue, but in the end, just didn't concentrate enough on the pot, or if he did, just wasn't good enough of an effort there for him. So this time around, it's going to be Jack Lisowski with a chance to have a rare shot to his name. Take the red in towards the right corner here. And he manages to make this one brilliantly here. Is he going to be on the colour? I think he will be. I think he will be. Still wait for the confirmation, but I think he will be on the pink here in towards the left corner. And the reason I say still need the confirmation is because he walked right away from the shot there. And clearly just having a look to see if the black was possible. But this is a nice little shot there for Jack, because even though he found himself a bit fortunate here, he's not going to be fortunate this time around though. I was going to say he had all the position very much on his grasp there, within his grasp. And yeah, the shot on the pink, he was always going to count on the cue ball in towards the other red, and ultimately just getting himself under all sorts of scrutiny and trouble. It's not looking good for him now in terms of making the next red. I mean, he's got a couple of options, I think, in towards the right middle. But when I say I think, it's still wait for the better camera angle to go my way. And see if actually any of those reds are actually going to be possible there for him. So, once again there, both of the players not necessarily making the most out of a position that I would find one of the most attractive ones that you can actually see on the snooker table. And Jack has gone for the shot in towards the green pocket, and he makes this one stick. But once again there, just going to face a little bit of a backlash in terms of his next colour being played. I mean, if it's going to be the black in towards the left middle, I think it actually may be a better shout there for him, because the pink is going to be a massive test there for him in towards the right corner. So once again, it is not over yet. So he's keeping himself in this break, but the problem is he's hanging on to it, and he's not going to be hanging on for much longer, because he's missed the black in towards the left middle. Ambitious shot, but I think probably the one that you should have taken and still should have done better on. And it's all about to see if Chomp is actually going to have himself a red available in towards the right corner. And the answer seems to be positive. Is he going to take it? The answer is positive again there. So it is all positives now for Judd Chomp as he tries to re-establish his lead and go one frame clear once again now. Still yet to see one of these players go 2 frames clear. But I think Chomp will settle for at least one of them going into frame number 5. And certainly now with him having 18 points of a gap here to his name. Still having 99 points available potentially for his opponent to try and make some sort of comeback. But as he has a little look to see if he can try and take the red, which is going to be closer to the cue ball. as the answer seems to be negative on that one, so he just goes for another one. And of course, the good news is going to be the fact that he's got plenty of those to choose from right now, and has himself lined up for the black in towards the left middle, and has himself lined up once again now for the red in towards the right middle this time around. So Rob Spencer just having a look to see if the black can go on the blue spot, of course, with its own one taken on by the pink, which can't go back on this spot because of the red being in the way. And ideally, Trump wants to avoid this dilemma, so which is why you would have been looking for a red to try and free up the pink spot. In the end, let's have a look if he's going to be able to deal with it later on. But for now, of course, he has to take the red in towards the right middle and get himself a bit straight on the yellow. Would have liked him actually, I think, for his sake, to get him a bit further down the shot and have got, well, for him to have a nice little angle to send the cue ball down the table here. Maybe able to do that from the brown, but he has to pot it first, and he hasn't managed to do that. So the cue ball is certainly going to come down the table, but the problem for Chop is going to be for his opponent now. And the break of just 16 points is going to be the maximum Trump can produce after a brilliant position went his way. But just like he went, he has disappeared there for him as a chance. And, well, Lisowski now, as the match time goes over 2 hours, well, still plenty of action to see, even in the first session here, not even talking about when the players are going to return to the action. Because with 2 frames each, we already guaranteed himself to go sort of 9 frames to 2 of a scoreline to be the minimum. So 11 frames, which is only going to be 2 shy of the performance that Mark Williams and Sean Murphy have managed to put. But of course, that one was first to 10 here. It's still going to be best of 17, first to 9. And Jack Lisowski gets himself to a nice little start here. Pots the red and a pink combination. Gets himself lined up onto another red here. So the one that is certainly going to free up the pink spot from captivity. And a nice little straight shot there from him. Just rolls the cue ball for this pink. Take this on in towards the left corner. Once again there, as the majority of the times that Lisowski actually finds himself on the break, he has to come from behind. And therefore, he just compromises his chances because he has to take pretty much all of those reds. Unlike Chomp, that has to take maybe some of the easier ones at least, and then try and hold on to that advantage in terms of the points that he's got. But of course, that has to come down to Jack missing way too many of those shots. But to be fair, he's just played a beauty there. Not only did he get a wonderful red in towards the left corner, he also managed to get one more of those into the open play. So as it stands, he's going to be too shy here of making a straightforward clearance for himself, as he's looking to take the black in towards the middle pocket, and he's going to lose the cue ball slightly. But, as a nice little bonus of having that red that he's freed up previously in towards the left middle, he's going to try and take that one away and make sure he's going to be still in prime contention here to remain in his break. But, you just could see that one coming, and he missed a red there in towards the left middle, even though it wasn't the most difficult of his shots for him to make. He just still not firing on all engines here and on all cylinders. You can see, he's disappointed in himself, but has to try and put that behind him. And if there's going to be a chance presented to him by Jump, which I think there will be, because it's not like he's got a straightforward opener here. He took the red on, and I think the chance that I was talking about is going to be here for him straight away, as long as the red is going to be visible there to the cue ball, and I think it is going to be. So back to another chance here for Jack, after he was unable to make the most out of the previous one. And he's not going to be able to make anything out of this one because he misses a red, which was there for him. Not going to say it was easy, but I'm certainly going to say that it was easier than the one that Chum was taking on previously. So Lisowski's still getting the better chances of the 2 players, but he's just unable to make anything out of those. And has a little look to see if, a couple of those reds are actually going to be available there to him. In the end, doesn't look to be the case, and Chump has to just take the red out of the right-hand cushion, put it towards the ball cushion there, but he hasn't played the shot too well. I mean, he's played it far from ideal there, because the same red can be played here by Lisowski. It's not going to be an easy one. Hi mate, hello Ahmad. And if you have a look at him taking this red in towards the green pocket, I mean, he's going to get the cue ball into a safe zone as well. And he's going to miss it once again there. Getting ever so closer, but still not close enough for him to actually make the red stick. And, well, Lisowski has to just separate himself between the cue ball and the reds there. I'm coming through a moment. Yeah, I do. Absolutely do. And, I mean, Chomp clearly losing all of his patience and just going for a double. And this time, just like it was for him in the previous couple of frames, he manages to make it stick. And finally, can he have a nice little breakthrough to get himself finally a frame on the board without, you know, having too much of a battle scrap to go through. Once again, lovely little double for him. You know, playing that with little power to make sure that you're going to have cue ball position perfectly on the black, and also you're going to have the pink. There's a nice little buffer there for you. So right now, it's focus going to be on not only this red for Chomp to take in towards the left corner, but also on him to try and make a transition with the cue ball back onto the top part of the table shortly, because that's where the two reds are going to be left out there for him. Nice little shot in terms of the screw back for the cue ball. And I think he'll have to go for the yellow, but you know, I don't think he'll be too upset about it. Once again, getting the perfect angle on this yellow, and all that screw back looks like it actually is going to pay off for him very, very nicely here. So how you look to see in terms of the points, how many will he need? And in terms of those, he's got 14 points to his advantage here, and he's going to make that 16 with a yellow. So he will need 2 of those reds, and then I don't think he's going to need any more of them, but certainly has a need of at least 4 more shots here with this yellow, as he makes the first one stick and gets himself a nice little position here on this red in towards the yellow pocket. So play through it and get himself lined up for the green or yellow in towards the green pocket here. I mean, he can try and go for the blue as well, but he needs to have a mighty angle on that. And I think he's going to have to need it, because the angle on the green is not going to be big enough. And also, I mean, the blue is going to give him 2 extra points over taking the green on. But ultimately, he wants the cue ball to run here, and it is going to run. So he's now going to go 22 points clear. So take this red with the blue preferably, but at least the brown, to make sure that you're going to be set for a respot, to say the least, barring Snookers. And he's going to drop the red in nicely, and ultimately still have a nice little angle on this brown to drop it, and have himself lined up for a shot in towards the yellow pocket there, with the cheapest colour itself. And of course the priority has to be making the brown in towards the pocket. Makes it nicely, and had the cue ball roll through a little bit, but ultimately it's still going to be fine on taking the yellow on. As I say, should he miss it now, still guarantees himself to be set for a respot black, but I don't think he'll miss it. And he certainly won't miss this one, because it's now frame ball taken quite quickly there in this frame. You know, after a couple of real battles there earlier, it was the double that have actually made all the difference here to Judd Chomp and his pursuit of another frame win, as he gets himself now a nice little break off 31 points and counting, can make it just below 50 plus, and round the frame off on the break of 49 points to his name. And ultimately, Jack Lisowski once again, as he did have in all of the previous frame, had his chances, as it's a brilliant pot there of the cue ball after the pink, and it's not going to do too much damage there to Judd Chomp, but ultimately it's going to get him the frame that he was seeking for. It is now Judd Chomp 3, Jack Lisowski 2, going into frame number 6, and still all to play for, but ultimately it's the world number 1 once again, trying to edge himself back ahead, and just trying to have control of this first session, which he has lost out in the opening frame, and well, pretty much hasn't lost it ever since there, with him being leading or drawing on the scoreline ever since then. Once again, nice little start, of course, to the second mini session. You know, it wasn't like the opening frame, which was very much a bit scrappy at times, a bit battling, and had a lot of the safety play at the beginning, but ultimately had 2 chances of a break there from Judd Chomp, and in the end the second one was enough there for him to make it break the counts, set up by a brilliant double in towards the right corner, in towards the right middle I should say, and in the end Lisowski will just look back on those chances if he's going to be short of frames won in the end. As the ones that were in the end the difference between victory and defeat. But of course, the good news for him is there's still loads of frames to play, and you know, if he goes and wins 7 frames from now, I don't think you're going to look back on those chances. But of course, the challenge is actually going to be doing that against world number 1, the very much the best of the best here on the World Snooker Tour, and Lisowski is going to be. But he was an underdog going into this match anyway, but right now he's going to be slightly more of an underdog, with him trailing by 3 frames to 2. And just having all of those frames in favour of Judd, especially the ones that, you know, Jack had a chance of going for. The thing about those opening 5 frames, you could actually argue that both of the players could have had a 5-0 lead to themselves. Of course, it would have been very unlikely, but every single one of them had a chance in every single one of those frames, which is what you want to see in terms of the action, but also what you want to see in terms of the performance there from the players. Just giving it everything there. Sometimes you're going to make a mistake, sometimes you're going to make it past that and get yourself a frame win. But of course, it's all about making those frames won more than the amount that the frames that you're actually going to lose here. As we're ready to get the 6th frame underway. The frame, once again, from my point of view, Lisowski needs to win to not allow Trump to actually start to get away from him. In towards the free zone, which is going to have all the luxury and all the comfort for Trump, which you absolutely mustn't allow him to do. Because not only does it allow him to play with confidence, it puts yourself on the back foot, and the way Jack Lisowski's playing, he just can't afford to be taking more risk than he already has taken. As, once again there, just proves my point. Goes for, well, I mean, not necessarily proving my point. I mean, I thought he's gone for a red in towards the left corner, but it looks like he played a brilliant safety here. So gets Trump back at the table, but ultimately, and allowing him to see very few of the reds. And the main one is going to have the cue ball to be sent towards the right corner pocket. In the end, he's just going to stop in time. And a nice little transition there, which was well made there by Trump. Probably similar sort of a shot that Lisowski will take on himself, as he tries to put all the distance in between the cue ball and the red here. And try and have the white lined up in behind the ball colours as his option 1 here. And of course the option 2 is trying to play a double. I mean, what a double that is. That is one of the doubles of the tournament, if that's not the one. Oh my word. For you to play a double with that power and be perfectly on the black is nothing short of incredible there. And by far the shot of the match. Just because of, you know, like he leaves himself in a free zone. Like, it's certainly going to have a red available there for Trump, but I mean, what a shot that is for him to actually make, especially when he just went 3-2 down. And this is what I mean there. Jack is going to take all the risks in the world, and it's all about just making the most out of those chances. And so far, he's managed to do that in this break, especially if he's still on this black, putting 2 reds at the same time, and a brilliant start to this frame now. Finally, we're getting all the power and all the accuracy from the players. Hopefully I didn't speak too soon here. As he hammers the black in towards the left corner. So now 17 points clear. Now, Lisowski just having a look to see if he's going to have this red available in towards the left corner. Let's see, roll this one in. And, well, as I say, he's not going to be on the maximum now. It's probably going to be the only problem of this position. I mean, if that red not dropped into to the right middle, he could actually make a serious argument this should be a perfect position for him to try a maximum break. Of course, not going to be the case now, but it still very much has to be the highest break of the match here for Jack Lisowski, potentially the highest break of the match by the 2 players. As right now he just has a look to see if this red is going to be potable in towards the right middle. I think the answer is going to be yes here to a lot of those questions with the way the reds have actually positioned themselves now. After a nice little cannon off the cue ball to the main pack here. So Lisowski just plays the black in. And of course, not only is it going to be a great confidence boost if Trump starts to win frames in a single visit there, just like he was, well, pretty much like he was in that frame number 2. A bit different to the one that we've seen in frame number 5 there. But the same could be said about Lisowski, as I say. I still am yet to see a performance like the one I've seen yesterday from Jack in a brilliant, dominant win against Joey Long there. He was quite fortunate there to get it lined it and end it with the way he actually did there, with the fluke in towards the yellow pocket, but ultimately it was complete and utter domination there from Jack as he gets himself his highest break of the match here. 41 points and counting. Makes that 42 with rolling the red in towards the right middle. And ultimately, I mean, if you are going to worry about making this frame the one that counts for you, I don't think you should be. Just don't take the eye off the pot and keep your concentration levels up. But I don't think there's going to be any sort of pressure here for any of those shots really, because out of those 15 reds, it's going to be 14 that are going to be in perfect shape there for him. And 48 points now. About to make it his first 50-plus break here. And, of course, make a huge step towards making it a 3-all draw going into the second session. Ultimately, he's going to be very different from the performance that we've seen last time out in between Sean Murphy and Mark Williams. I think he was 7-1, if I'm not mistaken there. That Williams took an absolute calamity of a lead there against Murphy at that time. And ultimately, Sean was only able to win 2 frames from there and take it to still an absolute domination of a 10-3 in favour of Williams. And well, of course, with it being match 2-9 frames, it's going to be a bit more competitive match than that one. Should Jack actually finish the job here and get this pink, and barring snookers, he is going to be the winner of frame number 6, or by far the quickest frame that we're going to see here of this match. And this is why you absolutely love snooker, and this is why you actually want to see players like Jack Lisowski and Judd making it into the final. Because one thing is for sure, even though they're going to have some frames when they're not playing too well against each other. Again, no battery anymore. Hope you managed to recharge it. And I mean, if there was a battery for the 2 players, they certainly managed to recharge it there, especially with their doubles. Lisowski is going to be disappointed though, as he runs himself out of position. So break of 74 points. Another double now to take on. Of course, no pressure on this one, and he makes it again there. So it's an absolute rain of doubles now, and it was the only red that was actually could have been classified as a problem there for Jack on his way to the century break. And surely nothing stands in between him making 100 break plus here. It's nice. Well, I mean, that double is it's not going to be as nice as the first one, because that one was, marginal and reckless and beautiful. I get the feeling this is going to be super tight final. I mean, I'm here for it. As I say, I haven't got a horse in the race, and this is why I wanted to go at least to sort of 9-6 of a scoreline. Jack is resisting. I mean, he is Jack the resistor here, and he manages to resist all that power from Trump's point of view, and he gets himself a break of 91 points now. Of course, the pink to equal the highest break achieved previously by Trump, and it is going to be 97 points each, but I get the feeling that is going to be the case only for a couple of moments time, because he still has a prime little chance to take it into a break of 130 points or something, as he takes the red in towards the right corner. So, I mean, if he takes the blue on, he could actually make it 130 break, sort of 130 points exactly there of a break. And certainly the crowd have certainly enjoyed it, and brilliant performance in this 6th frame by Jack Lisowski as he gets himself a century break, very much well deserved, and something that we have been looking forward to actually seeing this final. Trump got close, but in the end didn't manage to take the yellow at that time. But Lisowski managed to take it a step further and get himself onto a break of 108 points and counting. So drop the brown in towards the yellow pocket. And once again, of course, this is going to be a massive factor for him going into the next couple of frames, for the simple reason of all of this table time, we haven't seen Judd Trump accumulate, even in frame number 2 there, because he was, sort of marginally spread with that early break there, an early mistake from his side. And ultimately, it's not going to be a total clearance here from Jack, but it's still going to be a mighty break of 112 points to his name, as he now goes back level here with Judd Trump, as it's 3 frames each. And all of a sudden, what a contrast it has been to the opening mini session. 2 frames in no time at all, barely half an hour. since we've restarted the play. And, well, 2 more frames to come until we're going to take a break of 2 hours or so and be back for the evening session to see if one of these players, well, I mean, not if, but who of these players is actually going to take and claim the Alex Higgins trophy with a nice little check of £100,000 as well. Of course, the runner-up will guarantee himself £45,000 bonus of a check and a nice little Home Nations boost to their name. But ultimately, you know, Jack is going to need those ranking points, but I think it's going to be not even about the money, as he said himself about in the interview. It's about finally getting that trophy drought out of the way and just focusing on trying to win more there. Of course, the hunger is not going to get away from him, and he's just going to be hungry for more there. He's going to deserve it. Of course, if he is to overcome the likes of Kyron Wilson, Mark Selby, Judd there, Joey Long, some of the toughest opposition you could actually dream of facing in the entire tournament. The world number 2, the world number 9, and the world number 1 there, mixed up by some of the youngsters being in his way. And you have to go back to the opening round performance against Harris De Gea, which was ended in less than an hour there, and a brilliant, an absolute whitewashing domination performance from Lisowski at that time, as he managed to make himself set up a clash with Mark Selby, managed to dominate that match for the majority of it as well, losing the first frame in the most bizarre circumstances on the last black, managing to get it 3 frames on the bounce, getting himself in the last sort of 16 quarterfinal, semi-final stage, defeating Joey Long, defeating Kyron Wilson, and just sweeping everyone on his way. Chipchayanu once again wasn't an easy battle, was always going to be a 50-50 with the way these players have gone. Chipchaya managed to get himself ahead, and Lisowski said, "Thank you very much, it's not going to be today for you. I'll take 3 frames on the bounce yet again against you, and get myself into the clash with the likes of Wilson and Joe in the quarters and the semi-final stage." And now he has to calm himself down here and try and finally string something that he's managed to do against, I think it was against Kyron Wilson, no, it was against Joey Long yesterday, was having 2 frames, one within a matter of minutes of each other, and making breaks of 125, 124, as I say, within minutes of each other. As now he has got a decent break off, and Chop is going to go for those long shots now more frequently, because he knows this could start to get away with him, and it's a perfect chance once again for Jack to actually pounce on this one. Trump is vulnerable. He certainly is now when he makes mistakes like that. The cue ball wasn't perfect, and he's going to be a chance given away here to Jack to take the same raid in towards the right corner. Still tricky, but if the confidence is there, the belief is there, he's going to make this shot. He's going to make this shot stick, and he will do that. Brilliant shot once again there from Jack, and what he has to try and do is feel like he hasn't left off there. Long pot success, 6 out of 11 there for Jack. Not bad, but 3 out of 10 for Judd. He's going to be way below average there. And in the end, once again, a brilliant long pot to his name, and just focus like it's the extension of the previous frame, and you never left off. Just giving 1 shot away to your opponent. That's going to be enough there for him to reclaim that initiative and momentum back in this match, and get himself lined up for a nice little promising break here. Of course, the difference between Jack Lisowski in frame number 6 and the frame number 2 was the fact that he was making those early unnecessary mistakes there, and we haven't seen that in frame number 6, of course, but also we haven't seen that in some of those frames where Jack was just trying to dominate Trump, but ultimately couldn't string significant enough of a break at that time, and seems to be a little bit concerned here with the way the black is going to be respotted here. So let's see if he's going to have a red available in towards the right corner. Come on, Jack. Yes, Kevin, he's back. The legend in the chat is back here, and he's back for the best piece of action now. You've got 2 players finally stringing some great breaks here. Jack just made a century of 112 points and got himself into another chance here straight away in frame number 7. So looking to pick up exactly where he left off, and you know, be off to the next destination, which is going to be a 4-3 lead. Just as I said, my prediction was going to be 5-3 for Lisowski to actually take this opening session, which I thought was going to be a necessity there for him to actually progress further in his pursuit of claiming this title. In the end, all of his worries didn't have to go that far, and right now we're exactly level on points, 339 scored by each of the players. So how about that for a stat there? So, of course, right now Lisowski's going to accelerate into a little bit of distance and put a gap in between himself and Chomp. Of course, he's looking to go ahead of Chomp for the first time since the opening frame. He's got himself lined up for a red in towards the left middle. So tries to play through the cue ball, you would think, and get himself lined up on the pink there in towards the left corner. He's there to settle. Jack in March, he certainly is now. Let's have a look if he's going to be able to just sustain the pace of this match. And, you know, he's managed to get through the rough patches. All about if he can just steady the ship here, which he has managed to do in the previous couple of frames, and just try and go with the flow. Don't make any mistakes there. Force Chomp to make his own. And ultimately, take the chance when it presents to yourself. With this new cue, Jack is missing a lot. Long pot, 1-3 is very low for him. It is. And there's no hiding from it. You know, the 6 out of 11 for Jack is not going to be too good either for the way that he has been playing off those long pots. He's basically, though, he's been feeding off those shots for the majority of the tournament. And could have played better there, to be fair. I mean, a bit reckless. Didn't have to do that. He's got himself lined up with a shot in towards the yellow pocket here with the blue, and has to reach quite far for it. This is missable, but you can just see he's playing with confidence. When he gets down and he hits the shot perfectly in towards the center of the pocket there. Great final, it certainly is now. Jack win. All to play for. As I did say when he was 3-2 down, last thing that you want to do is throw the toys out of the pram and just say it's going to be over for me. And, you know, you have to fight back. And, of course, you have to fight back when it's still possible there for you. And it's going to be even more possible if he goes 4-3 frames clear. Guarantees himself not to be behind going into the second and the evening session here. So roll the black in for a 43 points lead. Get yourself lined up on 4. The red into towards the same pocket. And having a couple of more reds there to his name is just going to be very important for him to make his way through those reds. And, of course, the perfect start to the frames number 6 and 7 is going to be the fact that, you know, you can count the shots that Chomp has played, certainly in this frame, but also in the previous one. Still very marginal, though, in terms of having himself lined up for the blue. And once again, just absolutely hammering that one in towards the right middle. And a bit unlucky, to be fair, with the way he's finished on this red. So we're going to have to breach over a couple of those. People have been lit fireworks. I mean, let's see if it's going to be fireworks now or it's going to be fireworks too soon. You can never write off Judd Chomp, of course. As, oh, yeah, just as I say that, I mean, Jack, fair play to him. I mean, he called a foul on himself. Yeah, I thought he made the red in towards the left middle, but ultimately he caught one of the reds on the way in, so that's why he walked away with such disappointment there. And the break is going to end there for him, and the break is going to start here from Chomp. I mean, the break of 49 points not really going to be enough here for you, especially if Chomp manages to accelerate away here. And I mean, I can't really see him touching any of those reds, to be honest, but he wouldn't call a foul on himself in, of course, any other way. But I think it's a weird camera view, to be fair, because, as I say, you can't really see a touch on that, but there's no way that he would have called a foul on himself purposefully. So leave the red available here to Chomp. And, you know, out of those 6 reds that he's got available, 5 of them are in open play. Still, all colours are going to be very much on their positions, and one of those reds is going to be quite close towards the left corner. Probably the only real challenge that Chomp can face here. And the way that was looking like a confident win there in the frame for Jack. You know, stringing 161 points without answer there from Chomp. Ultimately had to come to the end at some point. And it looks to come to an end sooner rather than later there for him. Because this red for Chomp and this frame for Chomp is going to be absolutely massive. Because, as I said, for Jack there, was guarantee himself that he's not going to go into that second session trailing there, and at least guarantee himself a 4-all draw, maybe fight for a 5-3 lead. Well, the same can be said about Chomp now if he is victorious in this frame. But on the other time of asking, once again, let's have a look to see if he's going to be able. I can't see the touch. I mean, I can't be as controversial as I can, but they did as much of slow-mo as you can be. I can't see the touch. For my life, I can't see the touch there. I mean, as I say, I just think it's going to be ridiculous for him to call a foul on himself for nothing. But I had a look twice at it there. One was pretty good slow-mo, and I still can't see any sort of touch. Especially with the way, you know, he's given 4 points away. So it means he clearly said he touched the red. I couldn't see that. I mean, I have to look that one again, but I mean, with the way, if you look at it twice and it doesn't make sense, there's not really a guarantee that if you look at it third time, it's going to make sense to you. Controversial, maybe, but as I say, it's coming from the end that you wouldn't actually expect it to be controversial from. So now, we enter the end game of this frame, but of course it being on the other side of the table now with the ball. Very much been in Judd Chomp's half, and he's in control and in charge of this position. Although his charge is going to be a bit compromised by the fact that he's shown himself awkward on this red to try and take in towards the right corner. He manages to get himself out of the position nicely in terms of potting the red, but runs himself into a very, very awkward situation on the collar here. Black maybe is going to be the easier shot for him to take, so good news is he managed to take the red into the open plate. Bad news, if he misses the black here, he's going to be in all sorts of trouble. And of course, he's going to do the right way for him. I mean, yeah, this angle is just... Okay, I think he hasn't touched the red. He's played the cue ball twice there. Maybe that's actually the case. Okay, that would make a little bit more sense. Because I think he tried to hit the white and then he caught it twice with the cue there. So that would make a bit more sense at the end. So, as he gets himself now a single point behind Jack here, with 27 points on the table. As he tries to play for this red here. And he manages to take it, to be fair. So now goes 2 points clear, push shot. Maybe it was a push shot. I didn't want to really call it a push shot because, I mean, surely I haven't seen players call a push shot on themselves because that's realistically, that's the referee's point of view. And with the way the crowd have reacted, they clearly haven't heard a sort of signal from the referee. So clearly it was Jack just announcing to the world and the referee himself that he did a foul shot there. But, you know, as I say, this is the problem of not watching with the audio. People in the commentary might know a bit more than I do. And I'll have to watch that one until the second session starts. But ultimately, he ain't going to change the outcome because a couple of shots now are separating Judd Chomp from winning a very nervy and a very important frame for him to make it a 4-3 gap for himself and to, as I say, guarantee that he's not going to be trailing going into the second session. And as he rolls the blue in, it is going to be now a 4-3 lead to Judd Chomp. And Jack Lisowski has got it all to do now in the last frame to try and, well, compromise himself slightly in terms of going for a 4-all draw, but still be in with a chance for the second session. But until then, it is still Judd Chomp's show, and we are all part of it. A break of 75 now, and a very nice total clearance from Judd Chomp is going to mean that, as I say, guarantees himself the fact that he's not going to go into the second session trailing there, but is he going to go there dominating the play with a 5-3 of the scoreline, or is he going to be absolutely square once again there, as it has been on 3 of those occasions already? Would it be 1 frame each, 2 frames each, 3 frames each? Is it going to be 4 out of 4? Or is it finally going to be Judd Chomp to put 2 frames in between himself and his opponent? Massive call that from Jack Lisowski and the referee on the left middle shot. Whether it was a push shot, whether he touched the red, we'll have to go deeper into that one as the first session finishes, and well, try and see whether it was a push shot or whether Jack actually feels like he actually caught the red on the win with the cue, or is it hand there? Ultimately, it's not going to be easy, and it's a lot easier said than done, but he has to try and put that one past him. He's already managed to do it once in frame number 5 there, where he was trailing by 2 frames to 3, wasn't playing anywhere near as good as he could have been, but ultimately you have to say that's his only mistake that he's made in his last 2 frames, and He still managed to only win one of those frames, to be fair, but ultimately, it still could be enough there for him to go level things up there, and ultimately something that he hasn't managed to do up against Mark Selby there is to go into the second session with it being an equal scoreline. As I say, every single time he had a final, ranking event final, he had a spell in the match where he was losing a lot of frames on the bounce. He's still yet to lose 2 consecutive frames here. No, he's not. He has lost the second and third frame, but what I mean is he's still yet to go behind by 2 frames. So he's yet to have his opponent sort of make a gap on him on 2 frames or more, so he just has to try and take it at a frame 1 basis and just try and think about it as, be as calm with it, take your chances, take your time, and force Chomp into making those errors that he has made already, even in that frame. All of that started with Chomp making an inaccurate shot into towards the right corner that has given Lisowski a nice little chance, which he managed to take 49 points from, and ultimately it wasn't enough for Chomp to actually make a brilliant clearance there. They're not sure the guys commenting also. Thank you very much for that. And as I say, they'll have the studio analysis, and I don't think they're going to talk to the players midway through the break. But ultimately, as I say, and very much until today, we're going to know the answer to that. Close for good tonight, yes, but for that, it needs to be 4-all. As I say, don't let Judd Chomp run away with this one. And yeah, well, sometimes you don't have to push the horses, but I think Lisowski certainly has to push the horses now for himself to try and get that level draw there with Judd Chomp. And, all of a sudden, he just turned a best of 17 match into a best of 9. It's anyone's for the taking that way, and I just think, the closer it gets to the wire there, and the closer it gets to the decider or some sort of very close encounter in between the two, the more chance that Lisowski actually has, because I think there's going to be a very little enthusiast of sort of Jack Lisowski fan, himself, his family or his supporters that are going to say, well, we expected him to run away with it being 8-0 going into the second session. You're not, because you're up against the world number 1. He hasn't got experience in this arena in terms of winning those matches, and Chomp has got all the experience in the world here as we enter the last frame of this opening session. So yeah, as I say, I think it's going to be logical for us to have sort of a 2.5 hour gap in between the first session ending and the second one starting. So it's looking like it's going to pan out perfectly there for us. But it's not going to pan out perfectly for the way Judd Chomp is going to play this shot. And, he's going to leave anything easy here for Jack. He was trying to do something smart there. In the end, he caught the back-end jaw of the middle pocket and therefore compromised himself massively. Just like it was in the previous frame, it's another chance now presented to Jack. Has to take it and has to pull all of the struggles behind him. He takes the red, but going to put himself with a bit of distance for the black here. And doesn't want to be straight on it either. So I wouldn't celebrate just yet. As I say, the position is brilliant. But just has to get a bit more control here. And try and get the black in. Get yourself on the next red. And this is a horror shot for him to play. And he missed it. The horror shot is because it was so straight that it's almost impossible for you to get the angle on the cue ball to have himself lined up for the red. So he played with power. And in the end, he was never making that one stick. And the break of a single point is going to be the end here of Jack Lisowski. At least for the time being. Still looking to get a better picture of the way the raids are set up. But still, yeah, Chomp is going to have comfortable choice there of a couple. Taking towards the left corner. Now, of course, he hasn't got the luxury of the black here. He has to go for the blue here. And he hasn't played the shot too well. Going to be compromised slightly. Of course, you would expect him to make this blue, but the black has actually gone in towards the left-hand side cushion there. So he's going to be playable, but it's not an ideal spot there. As much goes over 150 minutes, 2.5 hours here. So Chomp is just playing this blue in towards the middle. I did say he was going to make this one. He only just about did. And also, what reds has he played for? Yeah, I'm getting a bit tired of, you can say it's a push shot. Now they're getting a slow-mo on that shot from Jack here. And, Yeah, I think you can say it's a push shot to an extent there, because he does actually push the cue in towards the white. But I need to see a bit more depth on that, and I want to see what the other people are saying about it. But my personal point of view is, I don't think he got the red, so clearly it's a push shot, and then whether he was called by the referee or Jack himself, I'll have to find out that one a bit later on. I still haven't given him 5 points here for the blue, apologies for that. So he's now Chomp leading by 6 points to 1 here. Ultimately, doesn't seem to be too convinced on which red to take on next there, in towards either left or right corner. I mean, he's had one lined up in towards the green pocket potentially, but I think the blue is going to be in the way of that shot. And therefore, just has to do something about his shot selection. I mean, he's having a look to see if that red is actually playable towards the green pocket. Doesn't seem to be the case. But you'll have, maybe you'll have something else to say about it. I mean, surely he's not going to try and pot this one, bridging over the black. Yet what a shot that is. I mean, this might be the shot of the match. I did say that double from Lisowski was exceptional in frame number 6, but this might just take the cookie here, because, I mean, to bridge over the black like that, to hammer the red in towards the green pocket and get yourself a lovely little positional shot on the brown as well, could well be the shot that actually wins him the frame, of course. Banana, well, almost, but not quite there. I do know what a banana shot is, and that was quite close to it, but not quite there. And I actually think it was more difficult than a banana shot, by the way. I do. Because, well, realistically, banana shot is quite simple for you when you know how to do it. And right now, it's Judd having all of these reds and all of the colours now, very much to his possession. And, I mean, what a contrast this could be. And what a turnaround. I mean, from Lisowski guaranteeing himself a 4-3 lead to actually go into the second session being 5-3 down could be a damaging thing. And of course, that break in between the sessions is going to come very handy there for him. And I say that because I can't really see Chomp making the mess out of this position, especially with the way he's been playing in the second mini session there. He's just been a lot more clinical with both of the players, to be fair, apart from that mistake from Jack, which you could classify as a controversial mistake, whether it was a push shot, whether he did catch the red or not. Apart from that, I can't really think of any of those mistakes made either by Chomp or Lisowski. And you just have to say that both players have been a lot more clinical when we have rejoined the table after the intermission break. Let's see if Chomp can be clinical enough now to get this frame under his belt, as the referee is having a little bit of a tough time now, having to place the pink. And he's clearly not going to be invited to the Christmas party of Chomp after this shot, because he made the shot as difficult as it could have been possible. So in the end, Chomp has to go for a shot in towards the left middle, but all that effort from the referee is going to come to absolutely nothing there. And Chomp is going to continue the break. Eliminates one more red there, gets the blue in towards the right middle, and has the cue ball lined up for a couple of more reds in towards the left corner this time around. Of course, the fact that the black is going to be out of position and out of the game, don't think he's going to compromise him too much with, you know, you can always just have the angle on the cue ball to run it up the table every single time here. But, I mean, he's trying to go for the black here. He's got himself into a little bit of a problematic zone, to be fair, because he has to bridge over the red quite awkwardly. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a lot of actual pressure on his sort of left elbow. You can't really go for a rest shot here. Hope Lisowski could come back to the table. I mean, yeah, I don't really think so. Especially, I mean, if he takes the black back onto his spot there, it's clearly over, even though he's 25 points clear now. 24. So it's all about the black in the next red. And then if he makes those two shots, I mean, it's going to be game over. Realistically, I mean, he makes the black in and yeah, put a lot of bit of pressure on his hand there, but and right now average frame time just over 21 minutes there. So in the end, still very much quick there, as you could call it, by the final standards, especially with the way the opening three have gone. Pretty much needed more than 2 hours, of course, for the opening mini session. The second one has absolutely flown by in comparison to that, barely an hour in it as it stands right now. If Chomp stays in the scoring, as you seem to say, indeed, well, I mean, it's just such a perfect zone for him. He's got all of those reds available. Keep hoping. Bit mean, but, you know, we move on. 39 points now, and 91 on the table. Rolls another in. Yeah, I mean, like, I just can't see any sort of shot that is going to put him onto sort of trouble. And once again, there, the media is just going back to the shot from Lisowski. As I did call it that time, it's an absolute nightmare to play that black off the cushion, and also trying to hammer that one to have the cue ball lined up for the next red. I mean, Trump is looking nervous now because he might have actually overcooked here, and you know, maybe there's a way back for Lisowski into this frame. Still don't think there is, but I mean, he's having a good look at this one. The camera angle doesn't actually tell the picture, but a little shake of the head, so doesn't seem to be too happy about it. Basically landed very much close to catching the red, which is going to be in the way there of him making the shot in towards the right corner. I mean, if he makes the mess out of this position, he better win the frame, because he ain't going to look pretty on him when he looks back on this position. I mean, he's done it at the easy. Wow, he has to play a safety shot. Wow, well. I mean, that keep hoping statement, by the way, could not have come at the worst time, because it's a safety play. It certainly is now, but yeah, I mean, it's still a challenging position for Lisowski, because, I mean, one thing that he has been struggling to do, and he is going to struggle to do that with safety shots like that. I mean, if he's managed to get all of those reds safe, I'm going to be amazed here, but I don't think he has. Yeah, he's basically cannon the cue ball in towards all of those reds. He managed to get the cue ball onto the bulk cushion, but yeah, he's left the red, which is going to be very straight, though, throughout the majority of the table length as well. Diagonally in towards the left corner for Trump to play. He passes the blue, so, I mean, it's up to you. Well, you can't really refuse the shot, so it's all about the way you're actually going to play it. And I don't really think it's going to be worth for you to try and take the red with a safety shot. I mean, he's just going to put it towards the left corner, the right corner, I should say, which is going to have some more reds available. I just think you have to take this red for your own sake, really. And I think Jack is probably going to be hoping that Trump doesn't take the red in. But, I mean, there is a bit of distance in between the red and the pocket. But, I mean, it should be the one that he takes on comfortably. I think the thing that is actually stopping him from taking the shot is he's gone over a minute now since he had this shot approach. It's probably the fact that he's so straight that he can drop the cue ball in towards the same pocket there, and it's the last thing that he wants to do. And, well, I mean, I said it was pretty easy. I didn't actually mean to disrespect him that way, because he missed it. Didn't get the cue ball in, but he missed the shot, and this could be another turning point. I did say he better win the frame from there on, because that mistake could turn the tables once again here, and he could turn it into Jack's favour. Game on, not quite yet. As I say, I think for every frame that Trump is still ahead in, I don't think it's game on there. I think it's game on for Trump, and I still think it's a charge on that has to be on for Lisowski. It will be game on if he goes 4 frames each there, because he'll be a mighty steal here. It certainly is game on in this frame. So I'm just trying to have a look and grade the reds with the way they're positioned. So 2 of them positioned nicely, and maybe he'll have a couple of more positioned even nicer now, and he goes around them, to be fair, to have the cue ball lined up for a shot in towards the right corner. So nicely played there. Wasn't easy, and of course one thing is you have to just take that shot previously out of your mind, and also take that shot of the black out of your mind as well, which, I mean, he does get the cue ball a bit too close to the cushion. Of course, it's nowhere near as bad as it was at the start of this frame, because the angle is different. And, well, I mean, I say the angle is different. I mean, where's he going to have the cue ball after this shot? And he sort of was going to play the shot, and then he stopped himself. So where is he getting the cue ball lined up? Because he's got to have its cannon in towards the pack of 2 reds, and it's going to be a bit of a hope zone. And that's what it was. I think it's the hope zone that is actually going to get him on the red, but pretty lucky with that one. He can't really play safe, well, attacking shots like that, just basing on luck there. So roll the red, which is still not easy for him. And I mean, the more difficult part is going to be trying to get the cue ball lined up on the ball colours. He managed to get the red in, and a bit in between the brown and green here. I think you'll know that better than me. Once again, just having a look to see. So 35 points is the gap to Chomp. 3 reds are going to be in reasonable position. Well, 2 of them are in good position, great position, whatever you want to call it. And 1 of them is in reasonable position. And the other one is going to be... He's going to require attention there. I mean, he's probably got the perfect angle right now to take this shot with the rest there in towards the right corner. I mean, he doesn't feel like that. And, well, I did say he doesn't feel like that because he was going to go for the shot in towards the left corner. Then he changed his mind. And then he looks to change his mind again. So, he is looking to take that red in towards the right corner. But, yeah, I don't think he's confident that the cue ball is actually going to make it past the pink there. So... yeah, they just keep showing the push shot or the claim push shot there by Jack. So I would like to put that to the past now and until this session is over. Now, very important red for him to try and roll in towards the right corner. Seen those missed, but not this time. Brilliant shot there by him. One of the main challenges out of the way. Still got 2 reds in easy play, as I say, that he has to make his way around of. And then he's got 1 massive challenge lining on the left-hand cushion that he has to try and deal with. He's going to try and deal with it now. And what a way to deal with a brilliant shot there from Jack. And still didn't sacrifice an inch of the positional play. And it now is going to be as easy as it's going to get. So just compose yourself. You've got all of these 3 reds in perfect play. All of the colours on their spots. Just compose yourself and be there when it matters. Don't take any pot for granted. Take an extra second if you have to. Don't overthink it. And just trust your body and trust the instinct to actually do all the damage there for yourself. You're only 17 points down. I think you'll try and rush through those because of the, pressure and inevitable nerves coming into the play. But what a story this could be if he goes for all and still not a single player, of course, to come 2 frames or more clear of any of them. And he's only 8 shots from doing that. In fact, it's probably going to require less of that. Don't think he's going to require the total clearance. But what a break this would be if he makes it the one that counts. Still, don't really want to jinx it, but I can't really see where he's going to go wrong there for him. He's got 6 colours all in their spots there as he makes the red. So now 7 pots to be the most there for him as he rolls the green in. So now we're going to have a 6 colour clearance there for him. So 5 points he's behind right now. So certainly going to need the pink. So maybe 5 pots away there for him as he makes the yellow in. So as I say, what a performance it has been from both players. You have to say, whatever it's going to be now, we certainly have been treated to a wonderful piece of snooker play. And it did seem like it got better as the match went on. The first 3 frames were a bit disappointing and scrappy there, but the second one certainly was brilliant. But the first and third frames were a bit slow there. But we managed to have different winners in every single one of those. And in the end, it does look like it is going to be Jack Lisowski's playing for the taking here, like at home with colours. Come on, Jack. Well, let's see. Now, he needs only this pink, which is going to be off the spot. But, I mean, he's overplayed for it slightly. Don't want to be creating tension out of nothing. But, he still has to get it. He still has to get it. He overplayed for it. But he's managed to get it. So, recovers well in the end. And a brilliant clearance. Not quite a clearance, but it's not going to matter in the end. A break of 62 points. And it is going to be nothing to separate them going into second session. Hip to hip, great coverage. Thank you for everyone joining in now. And there's not a lot for you to review if you want to talk about it. But what a story and what a match already it has been. We already guaranteed to have sort of more frames than Mark Williams and Sean Murphy last week. And it's only 4 frames each. Still at least 5 frames for one of these players to try and run away with it. But what a story. Judd Chomp losing the opening frame once again there to Jack Lisowski after an almighty battle on the colours. In the end, managed to come back with a brilliant clearance of 97 points. Still, by the way, his highest break of the entire match here. And it's like it's starting over tonight. As I say, it now is turning into best of 9 and first to 5 here, just like it was in the quarter-final. And it is going to be one of these players to actually take the Alex Higgins trophy and a £100,000 check. If you talk about the intermission, of course, I think it was important for Jack to claim that 4th frame. I did think like he was just going to get away from a touch there, and he was really going to struggle to come back from 3-1 down. In the end, very important for him to go 2 frames each into that intermission. In the end, John manages to take the first frame. You think he's back. And then we see formidable Jack Lisowski in that frame number 6. And a brilliant century break of 112 points. Could have been more had he decided to take a bit more care on the blue, pink and the black at that time. So we go 3 frames each. Nothing to separate them again. Then a massive twist in the tail when we see that 7th frame. And that mistake, controversial. Not maybe it's a foul, maybe it's not. I think it is a foul in the end of the day. Jack Lisowski didn't argue too much. Maybe he called himself that it was a foul. In the end, it cost him the frame because Trump makes a wonderful clearance of 75 points. We go to the 8th frame. It all comes down to this. And what do we see? We see brilliance of Jack Lisowski coming up against all odds, having 3 reds at least that were really difficult there on his way on towards a brilliant, pretty much you can call that a clearance of 67 points to his name. And now it is going to be all to play for, as you say, best of 9 format. And one of these players will be the winner and will be crowned the champion. And will lift that Alex Higgins trophy in a couple of hours' time. Yes, ref never called it, Jack did. Thank you very much, Kevin. So, good self-awareness and very good honesty there. In the end, honestly, that cost him the frame, but not the match here. Feel free to join in for the deciding match and the deciding part of the session here. Session 2 coming up in just over 2 hours. Who is it going to be? Is it going to be number 31 for Judd, or is he going to be the maiden ranking event title for Jack Lisowski? As I say, all to play for in just a couple of hours' time. Thank you everyone for joining in, and we'll see you around very, very soon for one of these players to be the winner and be crowned the champion today.